Beneath the surface of the earth, in forgotten tunnels carved by hand and machine, lie the abandoned mines of America. These mines once promised fortune, but for many they delivered tragedy. Miners died in collapses, gas explosions, and mysterious accidents, and some never left. Today, these abandoned tunnels are not just relics of the past. They are homes to restless spirits. People who have ventured inside report disembodied voices, echoing through the darkness, shadowy figures moving between the shafts, and mysterious lights dancing along walls where no living soul walks. Tonight, we descend into the depths and reveal 25 real stories from the creepiest abandoned mines in America, where the line between history and the supernatural disappears, and the darkness has a life of its own. The Soudan mine in Minnesota, carved deep into the Iron Range, has a long history dating back over a century as one of the nation's oldest iron mines. Today, it is a popular destination for tours and exploration, drawing visitors intrigued by its industrial past. Yet beneath the surface, in the dark and twisting tunnels, many have reported phenomena that defy explanation. Visitors recount sightings of ghostly miners wandering the corridors, strange tapping noises echoing from abandoned shafts, and cold drafts that appear without warning. Some even claim to have seen phantom lamps swinging along empty passageways, casting an eerie glow that vanishes when approached. One of the most common reports involves apparitions of miners from a bygone era. Visitors describe shadowy figures moving slowly along the narrow tunnels, often dressed in work clothes or wearing hard hats, carrying tools or lanterns. One tour guide recalled seeing a faint outline of a man standing near a rusted support beam, holding a pickaxe as if pausing for a moment before disappearing into the darkness. Others have reported glimpsing multiple figures at once, walking deliberately along the tracks, vanishing as they try to follow. These fleeting visions evoke a sense of the past lingering in the present, as though the Minersa spirits are still bound to the tunnels where they once toiled. Strange tapping or knocking sounds are another frequently reported phenomenon. Visitors often hear rhythmic echoes bouncing through the shafts, seemingly coming from deep within abandoned areas that are off-limits. One explorer described walking through a narrow passage when a series of deliberate taps began behind him, echoing through the corridor with no visible source. Another reported hearing faint hammering, as though someone was striking the walls, growing louder as he advanced before abruptly ceasing. These auditory experiences create a sense of presence and tension, as if the mind itself communicates with those who enter its depths. Cold drafts appearing without explanation add a chilling tactile element. Many visitors recount sudden drops in temperature, with icy air brushing against exposed skin as they traverse the tunnels. One miner-turned-tourist described feeling a freezing gust along a side passage, followed by the sensation of someone passing just behind him. Others report pockets of cold air swirling around corners or moving along tracks, even in areas without ventilation. The sudden chills heighten the awareness of the environment and create an almost physical sense of unseen entities moving nearby. Phantom lamps swinging along empty corridors provide the most striking visual experiences. Several explorers describe seeing lanterns moving slowly along the tracks, casting shifting shadows on the tunnel walls. One visitor recounted noticing a faint light swinging toward him from a distance, only to vanish as he approached, leaving the passage in darkness. Others have observed multiple lanterns drifting along abandoned shafts, flickering faintly as if carried by invisible hands. The convergence of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates deeply immersive experiences. Visitors describe shadowy miners appearing along the tracks as tapping echoes through tunnels. Lamps swing eerily in the distance, and sudden cold drafts brush against them. These layered occurrences amplify the sense that the mine is alive in a way separate from the modern world, that unseen forces continue to inhabit the underground corridors where iron was once extracted. The combination of sound, sight, and touch leaves a lasting impression of presence that is difficult to ignore. The mine structure amplifies these phenomena. Narrow tunnels, winding shafts, and massive caverns create pockets of shadow, reflection, and resonance. The echo of a single sound can seem magnified, bouncing through multiple passages and creating an impression of multiple sources. Flickering reflections off damp walls can distort light, making ordinary objects or shadows appear animate. Even routine movement of air along the shafts can transform into eerie gusts that reinforce the impression of unseen presences. Psychological factors also heighten these experiences. Darkness, confined spaces, and the eerie silence of abandoned tunnels increase sensitivity to visual and auditory cues. The mind instinctively interprets ambiguous shadows or sounds as meaningful, especially in a place with such a rich history of labor and hardship. Visitors often report dreams replaying their experiences underground, blending flickering lamps, tapping noises, and phantom miners into vivid nocturnal imagery that blurs the line between perception and imagination. Many leave the mine with a lingering awareness of something unseen, as if the spirits of miners remain quietly attentive. Even during tours in daylight, memories of these experiences color perception. Shafts, tunnels, and tracks retain subtle impressions of ghostly figures, tapping sounds, and swinging lamps, making familiar areas feel charged with history and mystery. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Sudan mine is more than an abandoned industrial city. It is a place where the past and present converge, where spirits of miners linger, and where every shadow, sound, or gust of cold air may carry meaning beyond the ordinary. In the Sudan mine, ghostly miners move silently along dark tunnels, tapping noises echo through abandoned shafts, and cold drafts brush against visitors. In the Sudan mine, ghostly miners move silently along dark tunnels, tapping noises echo through abandoned shafts, and cold drafts brush against visitors. Phantom lamps swing along empty corridors, casting shifting shadows that vanish when approached. Narrow tunnels, hidden chambers, and the Manea-esque deep history amplify the phenomena, creating an environment where the past lingers alongside the unexplained. For those who venture into its depths, the Sudan mine is not merely an abandoned Manea. It is a living presence, leaving visitors with encounters that are as unsettling as they are unforgettable. The Empire Mine in California stands as one of the oldest and most famous gold mines in the state, its history stretching back to the mid-19th century. Once a bustling center of mining activity, it now serves as a historical site and tourist attraction. But beneath the charm of its preserved structures and museum exhibits lies a dark legacy, one that visitors claim continues to leave its mark. Many who explore the mine report ghostly voices calling for help, shadows darting along walls, and the unnerving sensation of footsteps following them through empty tunnels. These experiences have earned the Empire Mine a reputation as one of California's most haunted historic sites. Ghostly voices are among the most common phenomena reported by visitors. Campers and explorers recount hearing cries, murmurs, or faint shouts echoing to the dark passageways, often when no one else is present. One visitor described walking through a narrow shaft when a desperate, muffled voice called out, as if someone were trapped behind the walls. Another recalled hearing multiple voices, whispering in unison, rising and falling with the rhythm of his own footsteps. These auditory experiences often occur in areas where miners once worked and perished, suggesting a lingering presence of those who suffered tragic deaths underground. Shadows darting along walls provide a chilling visual element. Visitors frequently report catching glimpses of fleeting, humanoid shapes moving at the edge of their vision, only to vanish when they try to look directly. One explorer recalled seeing a dark figure pass along the wall of a tunnel, moving with an unnatural swiftness before dissolving into darkness. Others have described multiple shadowy forms flitting between old support beams, giving the impression that the mine is still alive with miners tending their stations long after the gold was removed. These shadowy sightings are often brief, but leave a lasting impression, reinforcing the Manea-esque reputation as a place where the past refuses to remain buried. The sensation of footsteps following visitors is another phenomenon that has unnerved many. Campers report walking through the narrow corridors and hearing the distinct sound of someone pacing behind them, matching their speed and rhythm. One hiker described feeling a presence trailing him through a long tunnel, hearing footsteps echo in perfect tandem with his own, only for the sound to stop abruptly when he turned to confront it. Others have reported the sensation of being followed along ridges and shafts, creating an overwhelming awareness of mind as a space inhabited by unseen watchers. These auditory, visual, and tactile experiences often occur in combination, creating fully immersive and unsettling encounters. A visitor may hear a faint cry echoing through a tunnel, while simultaneously noticing a shadow dart across the wall, and then feel the pressure of footsteps trailing them. These overlapping phenomena heighten the sense of presence and reinforce the idea that the mind is not merely a static historical site, but a living, breathing environment still inhabited by the spirits of its former workers. The mind's architecture amplifies these eerie experiences. Light reflecting off damp walls or the occasional lantern can produce fleeting shapes that appear animate. Even a natural drafts through old ventilation shafts can create eerie gusts of cold air that accompany the feeling of an unseen presence. Visitors often find themselves hyper-aware of every creak of wood, drip of water, or flicker of shadow, as the Manea-S structure turns ordinary sounds and movements into something far more unnerving. Historical context also intensifies these encounters. The Empire mine saw many accidents and collapses during its operation, and the thought of miners trapped or perishing underground lends weight to the experiences reported by modern visitors. Ghostly voices, shadows, and footsteps are often interpreted as echoes of these past tragedies, a reminder that the human spirit may linger where life once ended abruptly. The Manea-S long history of labor, danger, and hardship creates an atmosphere that seems uniquely receptive to supernatural interpretations. Psychological factors further amplify the experiences. Isolation, darkness, and the weight of historical knowledge increase sensitivity to subtle environmental cues. Visitors often interpret ambiguous sounds, shadows, or movements as meaningful. Dreams may replay these experiences, blending phantom voices, fleeting shadows, and footsteps into vivid nocturnal imagery that blurs the line between imagination and reality. Many leave the Empire mine with a lingering sense of unease, a feeling that the spirits of miners continue to move through its tunnels, silently watching those who follow in their footsteps. Even during daytime tours, memories of nighttime or solitary visits influence perception. Shafts, tunnels, and old machinery retain subtle impressions of cries, shadows, and footsteps, making the mind feel charged with a presence beyond the ordinary. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, the Empire mine is more than a historic gold Manea. It is a place where the past and present coexist, where spirits linger, and where every echo, shadow, or movement may carry significance beyond the mundane. At the Empire mine, ghostly voices call from dark tunnels, shadows dart across walls, and footsteps follow visitors through empty corridors. Narrow shafts, abandoned shafts, and historical remnants amplify these experiences, creating an environment where the living and the departed seem to coexist. Lights flicker and shadows move as if guided by unseen hands, leaving visitors with the undeniable impression that the spirits of miners continue to inhabit the mine. For those who venture into its depths, the Empire mine is not just a historic city, it is a living presence, a place of echoes and apparitions that is as haunting as it is unforgettable. The Lucky Friday mine, nestled in the rugged mountains of Idaho, has a long history of silver extraction, dating back over a century. Over the decades, it has seen both prosperity and tragedy, with accidents and fatal explosions claiming the lives of numerous miners. Today, while the mine attracts history enthusiasts and tour groups, visitors report phenomena that suggest the spirits of those lost may still linger. Flickering lights in abandoned shafts, phantom hammering echoing from nowhere, and sudden cold spots with no visible cause are among the most common experiences described, leaving explorers with a sense that the mine is alive in ways beyond the physical. Visitors describe lanterns or safety lights suddenly dimming or flashing, even when powered systems are functioning normally, as if signaling, though no electrical issues were detected. Another explorer described walking along an abandoned shaft when a lantern suspended from the ceiling began swaying and flickering, casting elongated shadows that danced along the walls, before abruptly returning to stillness. These lights often appear in areas where accidents occurred, leading some to believe they are manifestations of the spirits of miners who perished underground. Phantom hammering is another haunting feature of the Lucky Friday mine. Visitors frequently report hearing the rhythmic clang of metal striking rock, echoing through abandoned shafts or empty tunnels where no workers are present. One miner-turned-tourist described ascending into a narrow shaft when a steady hammering began behind him, the sound resonating along the walls. As he paused to listen, the noise seemed to circle around him, fading as mysteriously as it had begun. Others have reported intermittent hammering in different parts of the mine, often coinciding with flickering lights or sudden shifts in temperature, adding to the sense that the mine itself remembers the labor and lives of those who worked within it. Cold spots appearing without explanation add a chilling, tactile element to these encounters. Many visitors recount sudden drops in temperature as they traverse the tunnels, often accompanied by the sensation of unseen proximity. One tour participant recalled walking along a main shaft when a freezing gust swept over him, with no draft from ventilation shafts or openings. Another explorer described feeling icy hands brush past him as he paused to examine a piece of old equipment, leaving a lingering sense of unease. These cold spots frequently coincide with other phenomena, such as flickering lights and phantom hammering, reinforcing the impression of an active, unseen presence. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes these encounters particularly immersive. Visitors may see lights flickering along distant shafts, hear hammering echoing through narrow corridors, and feel cold air brushing their skin all simultaneously. These layered phenomena create a compelling sense that the mine is not merely a historical site, but a space where the past continues to interact with the present. The feeling of being observed or accompanied intensifies as explorers move deeper into the abandoned areas, adding a heightened awareness to every sound, shadow, and movement. The Manea-S structure contributes to the intensity of these experiences. Narrow tunnels, steep shafts, and expansive caverns naturally amplify sound and distort perception. A single tap of rock can resonate for hundreds of feet, while shadows flickering along the walls can appear humanoid or animate. Reflections from lanterns or lights can elongate shapes, creating fleeting images that vanish when approached. Even the natural movement of air through ventilation shafts can create eerie drafts that appear to have no source, enhancing the impression that the mine is alive and attentive to those within it. Historical context deepens a sense of unease. The Lucky Friday mine has witnessed numerous accidents and explosions that claimed lives, and the thought of miners trapped underground adds weight to modern visitorsa experiences. Flickering lights, phantom hammering, and cold drafts are often interpreted as the echoes of these past tragedies, suggesting that the spirits of the lost miners continue to inhabit the tunnels, repeating their labor in spectral form. Visitors often describe a lingering emotional resonance, a sense of history and human suffering persisting in the very walls of the mine. Psychological factors also heighten encounters, suggesting that the horrors of the mine are far from over. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of the mine's violent past increase sensitivity to environmental cues. Sounds, shadows, and movement are often interpreted as meaningful or threatening, while dreams can replay these experiences in vivid detail. Many visitors report leaving the mine with a sense of unease or hyper-awareness, as if the spirits they sense continue to shadow them even above ground. Even during guided tours in daylight, memories of these phenomena influence perception. Shafts, tunnels, and machinery retain subtle impressions of light, sound, and temperature fluctuations, making ordinary movements or flickers feel charged with significance. For those who have experienced these events, the Lucky Friday mine is more than a relic of silver Meninga. It is a space where the echoes of labor, loss, and life persist, leaving an enduring impression on those who venture into its depths. At the Lucky Friday mine, lights flicker inexplicably along abandoned shafts. Phantom hammering echoes from nowhere, and sudden cold spots brush against visitors. Shadows flit along narrow corridors, and the lingering presence of miners who perish in explosions can almost be felt. The lingering presence of miners who perish in explosions can almost be felt. The mine's structure, history, and hidden corridors amplify these phenomena, creating an environment where the past continues to resonate alongside the present. For those who descend into its depths, the Lucky Friday mine is not merely a historic city, it is a living presence, leaving visitors with experiences that are haunting, immersive, and unforgettable. Cerro Gordo Mine in California was once a bustling silver mining town, perched high in the eastern Sierra Nevada. Founded in the 1860s, it thrived for decades, drawing miners and their families to the remote mountains with promises of fortune. Today, the mine and its surrounding structures stand abandoned, decaying under the harsh mountain climate. Yet visitors and paranormal investigators have reported unsettling phenomena that suggest the spirits of those who once lived and labored here may not have fully departed. Disembodied voices echo through the tunnels, ghostly figures linger in shadowed corners, and strange glowing orbs drift through collapsed passageways, leaving a palpable sense of presence in the historic ruins. Paranormal investigators and explorers alike describe hearing conversations, cries, and distant calls echoing through empty corridors. One investigator recalled entering a tunnel where she distinctly heard the sound of miners discussing work, their voices fading into silence when she attempted to locate the source. Others have reported hearing sharp shouts or mournful wails in areas long inaccessible due to collapse or decay. These auditory experiences give the impression that the past is not only preserved in the crumbling structures, but continues to reverberate audibly through the mine itself. Ghostly figures watching from the shadows add a visual dimension to the haunting. Visitors often report seeing vague human forms standing or moving in darkened corners, sometimes at the edge of their vision. One camper described noticing a figure in old mining clothes near a collapsed tunnel, frozen in place, only to vanish when he blinked or shifted his gaze. Others have reported multiple figures flitting silently across abandoned hallways or appearing on distant ridges, observing intruders before fading into the darkness. These spectral sightings often occur in areas tied to Mana's most active period, suggesting that the energy of past labors lingers where work and life once intersected. Strange glowing orbs moving through tunnels provide another layer of mystery. Investigators have captured small, luminous spheres drifting along passages, sometimes ascending through collapsed sections or hovering near piles of rubble. One report described an orb moving deliberately along a shaft as though following a path, vanishing when approached. Another account involved multiple orbs hovering near an old support beam, casting shifting light across jagged walls before disappearing entirely. These orbs create a surreal, almost otherworldly atmosphere, reinforcing the sense that Cerro Gordo is not only a relic of history, but a space where unseen forces manifest visibly. The combination of auditory, visual, and kinetic phenomena makes these encounters immersive and disorienting. Visitors may hear voices echoing from distant tunnels, while shadowy forms appear in the corners of their vision, and glowing orbs drift past collapsed passageways. The interplay of sound, movement, and light creates an environment that feels alive, as though the spirits of miners and town residents continue to inhabit the abandoned spaces, interacting with those who dare to enter. Many who explore Cerro Gordo report an acute awareness of being watched, a feeling intensified by the Mana's labyrinthine corridors and decaying structures. The architecture and terrain of Cerro Gordo amplify the eerie effects. Narrow tunnels, jagged shafts, and precarious buildings create pockets of shadow and echo, enhancing sound and distorting perception. Moonlight filtering through broken windows or crevices can make walls appear animated, while reflections from metallic surfaces or lanterns exaggerate movement. Even small drafts flowing through collapsed sections can produce chills or cause objects to sway subtly, further convincing visitors of Mana's lingering life. The combination of natural acoustics, visual distortions, and environmental cues enhances every reported phenomenon, leaving explorers hyper-aware of every footstep, flicker, or whisper. Historical context contributes significantly to the Mana's haunted reputation. Cerro Gordo saw countless accidents, cave-ins, and fatal incidents over its decades of operation. Paranormal accounts often coincide with areas tied to these events, leading many to believe that the voices, shadows, and lights are echoes of miners who met untimely ends. The notion that the Menea's violent and laborious past still resonates lends weight to each experience, creating a sense that the spirit of the past remained tethered to the decaying tunnels, silently observing those who enter. Psychological factors also play a role in these experiences. Isolation, darkness, and knowledge of Menea's tragic history heighten sensitivity to subtle environmental cues. Shadows may be perceived as figures, echoes interpreted as conversation, and the movement of dust or small debris mistaken for unseen presences. Echoes interpreted as conversation, and the movement of dust or small debris mistaken for unseen presences. And the movement of dust or small debris mistaken for unseen presences. Dreams and imagination often replay these encounters, blending auditory, visual, and tactile impressions into vivid nocturnal experiences that blur the line between memory and reality. Blending auditory, visual, and tactile impressions into vivid nocturnal experiences that blur the line between memory and reality. Visitors frequently leave with a lingering sense of unease, convinced that the spirits of Cerro Gordo continue to roam the tunnels. Even in daylight, memories of nighttime or solitary exploration color perception. Tunnels, collapsed shafts, and rusty machinery retain subtle impressions of voices, shadows, and drifting lights, making ordinary spaces feel charged with mystery. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, Cerro Gordo Mine is more than an abandoned silver Menea. It is a place where history and the supernatural coexist, where the labor and lives of miners remain palpable, and where every shadow, whisper, or glow carries the weight of a forgotten past. At Cerro Gordo Mine, disembodied voices echo through empty tunnels, ghostly figures watch from shadow corners, and strange glowing orbs drift along collapsed shafts. The Menea's decaying structures, narrow corridors, and historical tragedies amplify these phenomena, creating an environment where the past continues to linger in palpable ways. For those who explored abandoned depths, Cerro Gordo is not just a relic of California's silver mining era. It is a living presence, leaving visitors with experiences that are haunting, immersive, and unforgettable. The Gold Hill Mine in Nevada, perched high in arid hills, has long been shrouded in legends of silver and gold, fortune, and tragedy. Active during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, it drew miners hoping to strike it rich, but the Menea's tunnels were treacherous and accidents were frequent. Today, while many visit as part of historical tours or for exploration, the mine has gained a reputation for being haunted. Explorers report ghostly miners reenacting past accidents, shouts echoing in the darkness, and phantom tools clanging on stone floors. Locals often warn, it a mine OS and a tea like visitors after darka, a mixture of fear and respect. One of the most common phenomena reported is the sight of ghostly miners appearing in the tunnels. Visitors describe figures dressed in period mining attire, moving as though performing tasks long since abandoned. Some witnesses claim to have seen miners suddenly freeze in place, before vanishing entirely. Reenacting moments of accidents or misfortune. One explorer described walking down a narrow passage when he spotted a miner crouched near a support beam, striking the rock with a pickaxe in a slow, deliberate rhythm. When the observer blinked, the figure had vanished, leaving nothing but the dim light reflecting off the stone walls. Others report groups of miners performing repetitive motions, as though trapped in time, reliving labor that ended in tragedy decades ago. Auditory phenomena are also striking in the Gold Hill Mine. Shouts, screams, and muffled calls echo through dark corridors, often with no identifiable source. Visitors recount moments when a sudden yell reverberates down a shaft, startling even those who have been calm moments before. One hiker recalled pausing to listen to what seemed like a heated argument between miners, only for the voices to vanish the instant he tried to approach. Another reported hearing distant, urgent calls for help while traversing collapsed tunnel, a sound so vivid it left him convinced that the past and present were momentarily intertwined. These echoes seem to carry the weight of Menea's history, reminding visitors that danger and death were once close companions to the laborers who worked there. Phantom tools clanging on stone floors add a tangible and unnerving element. Visitors frequently describe hearing the metallic ring of hammers, picks, or shovels striking stone, echoing through empty corridors. One report involved a solitary explorer hearing rhythmic hammering along a side shaft, each strike accompanied by the distant squeak of a wheel or cart. The sound would pause when approached, then resume moments later, as though unseen miners were aware of being watched. Another visitor described hearing the unmistakable scrape of a pickaxe sliding across a rock floor, followed by a loud clang, only to find the passage empty and silent afterward. Cold drafts and sudden temperature shifts intensify these encounters. Explorers often report inexplicable gusts of icy air brushing their skin in areas without ventilation or openings. One visitor described walking a corridor when a sudden chill swept over him, followed by the sensation of being watched from a nearby shadow. Others reported the temperature dropping as phantom miners appeared, or as tools seemed to strike the stone floors, reinforcing the feeling that these apparitions are not merely illusions, but active presences inhabiting the Manea-S space. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes exploration of the Gold Hill Mine immersive and unnerving. Visitors often experience multiple phenomena simultaneously, as seeing ghostly miners, hearing shouts or tool strikes, and feeling cold air sweep past. This layering creates a heightened sense of awareness, as if the mine is alive and responding to intruders. The echoes, shadows, and chills converge, making the tunnel seem both historical and otherworldly, bridging the gap between past and present. The Manea-S architecture amplifies these experiences. Narrow shafts, uneven floors, and steep tunnels create echoes that distort sound and shadows that flicker unpredictably. Light from flashlights or lanterns can cast shapes that appear animate, reflecting off metal or rock to create fleeting illusions of movement. Even small vibrations on the earth or settling walls can mimic footsteps or falling tools, further blurring the line between natural and supernatural. Visitors are often left on edge, attuned to every sound, flicker, or movement in the tunnels. Local lore reinforces the Manea-S reputation. Stories of miners who died in accidents, of sudden collapses, and of desperate calls for help have persisted for generations. These narratives heighten visitors' awareness and make even ordinary noises feel charged with meaning. For many, the Gold Hill Mine is a place where history and the supernatural intersect. A site where the labor, fear, and tragedy of past miners continue to resonate. Even in daylight, the memory of shadows, echoes, and phantom tools lingers. Tunnels, collapsed shafts, and rusted equipment retain subtle impressions of past activity, making familiar areas feel haunted. For those who have experienced these phenomena, the Gold Hill Mine is not just an abandoned city, it is a living presence. Ghostly miners, echoing shouts, and phantom tools serve as reminders that the past is never truly gone, and that in Gold Hill Mine, the spirits of labor and loss remain intertwined with every stone and shadow. Cold drafts sweep along corridors. Shadows flit unpredictably, and unseen presences seem to observe every move. The mine's narrow shafts, steep tunnels, and long history of accidents amplify these experiences, leaving visitors with an unforgettable sense of history, mystery, and lingering spirits. For those who venture into its depths after dark, the warnings are clear. The Gold Hill Mine does not welcome the living lightly, and the echoes of the past may follow long after one leaves its shadowed corridors. The Iron Mountain Mine in California sits high in the rugged hills, a relic of the Stadia-S gold and silver mining boom of the 19th century. Once a thriving site of labor and industry, it now lies abandoned, its tunnels and shafts echoing with the weight of history. The mine has earned a reputation among explorers and paranormal investigators for being haunted, said to be inhabited by the spirits of miners who perished in cave-ins and accidents. Visitors frequently report cold hands brushing against them, shadowy figures vanishing into walls, and unexplainable whispers repeating warnings in old miner dialects, leaving a lasting impression of unease and mystery. Cold touches are among the most commonly reported phenomena at Iron Mountain Mine. Visitors often describe sudden chills or the sensation of icy hands brushing against their skin in tunnels where no drafts exist. One explorer recounted walking down a narrow passage when he felt a cold grip on his shoulder, turning to find the shaft empty. Others reported fleeting touches on their arms or backs, accompanied by a prickling sensation of being watched. These tactile experiences are often unsettlingly precise, creating an impression that unseen presences are moving close enough to make contact without revealing themselves fully. Shadowy figures add a visual dimension to the hauntings. Visitors describe dark silhouettes gliding along tunnel walls, sometimes pausing near old support beams or collapsed sections before disappearing entirely. One tourist recalled glimpsing a miner's shape in the distance, seemingly carrying a pickaxe, who vanished into solid rock when approached. Others have reported multiple figures moving in sequence, like ghostly workers continuing their labor long after life has left the mine. These apparitions are often fleeting, visible only at the edge of perception, but leave a strong impression of awareness, as though the miners are observing intruders and guarding the tunnels they once knew so intimately. Auditory phenomena are equally chilling. Many visitors hear faint whispers in areas long abandoned, voices speaking in the minor dialects of the 19th century, repeating warnings or directions. One investigator described walking along a collapsed shaft when a voice hissed something that sounded like a caution against proceeding further. Others reported hearing phrases like a watch your steepa or a donati linger, carried on the cold air of tunnels untouched for decades. These auditory experiences are often accompanied by footsteps, the scrape of tools on stone, or distant knocks, amplifying the sense that the mind is alive with memories and restless spirits. The convergence of tactile, visual, and auditory experiences makes exploration of Iron Mountain Mine immersive and disorienting. Visitors often encounter multiple phenomena at once as shadowy figures passing silently along corridors, whispers echoing from unseen corners, and cold touches on skin or clothing. The layering of sensations creates a heightened awareness of the environment, as if every rock, beam, and shadow holds latent activity. Many report a deep sense of being watched, a presence that moves with them, following their exploration but never fully revealing itself. The architecture of the mine amplifies these experiences. Narrow shafts, winding corridors, and deep chambers create natural echoes, distort sound, and enhance shadows. A single knock or scrape can reverberate through multiple tunnels, creating the illusion of multiple presences. Dim light filtering from cracks or lanterns cast shapes that can appear animate, while the movement of air along old ventilation passages can produce sudden gusts that feel like spectral brushes. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile stimuli leaves visitors constantly alert, sensing activity even when no one else is present. Historical context intensifies the sense of unease. The Iron Mountain Mine witnessed numerous cave-ins and mining accidents, claiming the lives of many laborers. Paranormal accounts often center around areas of known fatalities, suggesting that the Minersa spirits remain tethered to shafts where they met untimely ends. Flickering shadows, whispers in old dialects, and cold touches are interpreted as echoes of these past tragedies, a reminder that the Minea-S history is not entirely buried beneath rock and rubble. Visitors leave with a lingering awareness of lives once lost, as if the mine itself preserved their memory in a tangible, even interactive form. Psychological factors also heighten the intensity of these experiences. A reminder that the Minea-S history is not entirely buried beneath rock and rubble. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of the Minea-S violent history increase sensitivity to subtle environmental cues. Shadows can appear animate, echoes can be interpreted as conversation, and even ordinary drafts or noises can take on supernatural significance. Visitors often report dreams replaying the Minea-S sounds, touches, and figures, merging perception and imagination in ways that make the haunting feel continuous, even after leaving the site. Even during daytime exploration, memories of shadows, whispers, and cold touches color perception. Corridors, collapsed shafts, and rusted machinery retain subtle impressions of the past, making familiar spaces feel charged with presence. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Iron Mountain Mine is more than an abandoned mining city. It is a liminal space where the living and the dead coexist. Where history, tragedy, and the supernatural intertwine. and where every whisper, shadow, or touch carries the weight of decades gone by. At Iron Mountain Mine, ghostly miners glide through narrow tunnels. Whispers and old dialects echo from unseen corners, and cold touches brush against visitors in areas with no drafts. Shadowy figures vanish into walls. Footsteps resound along empty corridors, and the history of labor and accident lingers palpably. The mine's twisting shafts and tragic past amplify the phenomena, creating an environment where the spirits of those who perish continue to watch, warn, and interact with the living. For explorers daring to enter its depths, the Iron Mountain Mine is not just a historical city, it is a haunting, immersive presence that is unforgettable and deeply unsettling. This St. Joseph Mine in Missouri, once a hub of silver and lead mining, now lies abandoned. Its tunnels and shafts silent, but for the whispers of history. Over decades of operation, the mine claimed multiple lives due to cave-ins, gas explosions, and accidents. That left a permanent mark on the local community. Today, explorers and paranormal enthusiasts claim that the mine is far from empty. Ghostly lamps float along tunnels. Phantom voices call out names, and shadows lurk just beyond the reach of flashlights, leaving a chilling impression that the spirits of miners continue to inhabit the Manea-esque dark corridors. Visitors describe lights drifting slowly along abandoned shafts, swinging gently as if carried by unseen hands. These lamps often appear in tunnels that have long been deemed unsafe or inaccessible, illuminating portions of the mine that explorers otherwise cannot see. One witness recounted walking a narrow passage when a small, glowing lamp floated past him, hovering momentarily before disappearing into the darkness ahead. Others have seen multiple lamps moving in sequence, as if ghostly miners were following established routes from decades past. The phenomenon is not only visual, but often accompanied by a tangible sense of presence, as if the mine is alive with spectral activity. Phantom voices are another frequent occurrence in the St. Joseph Mine. Explorers report hearing their own names called from the shadows, as well as snippets of conversations in tones that range from urgent to mournful. One hiker described descending a collapsed shaft when a voice whispered, "A Carefilodona T-step there," in a dialect reminiscent of Manea-esque 19th century workers. Others have recounted hearing distant shouts and laughter, sometimes echoing along corridors with no apparent source. The voices often seem to interact with visitors, repeating warnings, imitating movements, or respond to sound within the mine, creating an immersive and disorienting experience. That blurs the line between the living and the dead. Shadows lurking beyond flashlight beams contribute to the eerie atmosphere. Explorers often report seeing fleeting forms at the edge of their vision, figures that vanish the moment they attempt a direct glance. One visitor described a shadow moving along a tunnel wall, appearing humanoid yet distorted, as if frozen in time. Another recounted a group of shadows appearing near an old support beam, lingering briefly before dissolving into the darkness. These shadowy forms are often accompanied by cold drafts or the sensation of being watched, amplifying the fear and fascination experienced by those who venture into the mine. The combination of ghostly lamps, phantom voices, and lurking shadows creates a multi-sensory haunting. Visitors frequently experience several phenomena simultaneously: lights drifting through tunnels, names whispered from unseen corners, and cold spots brushing against their skin. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mine feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. The Manea-esque structure enhances these experiences. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. This layering heightens awareness and makes the mind feel alive, as if the spirits of past miners continue to patrol, warning, observing, or guiding intruders. Many describe the feeling of unseen eyes following their movements, creating an almost tangible tension as they navigate the narrow corridors. Its narrow shafts, crumbling walls, and long abandoned equipment amplify sound and distort light. A single echo can reverberate for hundreds of feet, while flickering flashlights create elongated shadows that seem to move independently. The drifting glow of lanterns or reflections off metal surfaces can make walls appear animated, and subtle drafts flowing through the tunnels can mimic the sensation of invisible presences brushing past. These environmental factors make every step feel charged with uncertainty, reinforcing the impression that the mind is inhabited by more than just memories. Historical context adds weight to the hauntings. Joseph Mine has a long record of fatal accidents, and many believe the spirits of those lost remain tethered to the tunnels where they perished. Ghostly lamps, whispered names, and shadowy figures are interpreted as echoes of miners reliving moments of labor, danger, and tragedy. These phenomena serve as a reminder of the Manea's dangerous past, transforming the abandoned corridors into a place where history and the supernatural converge. Visitors often leave with a lingering sense of respect and unease, convinced that the mind retains a consciousness shaped by both toil and loss. Psychological factors further intensify these encounters. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of Manea's tragic history heighten perception and make ordinary environmental quasar, shadows, echoes, or drafts of feel charged with meaning. Visitors often report dreams or memories of the mind replaying visual and auditory impressions, blending reality and imagination. Many describe leaving with an enduring sense that the spirits of the St. Joseph Mine are still present, following silently and observing even after one emerges into daylight. Even during daytime exploration, the memory of drifting lamps, whispered names, and fleeting shadows colors perception. Old shafts, collapsed corridors, and abandoned equipment retain subtle impressions of the past, making the mind feel charged with activity. For those who have experienced these phenomena, the St. Joseph Mine is more than a historical city. It is a living presence, a place where echoes of the past interact with the present, and where every corner, shadow, and flicker may hold a fragment of memory or spirit. At the St. Joseph Mine, ghostly lamps drift through abandoned shafts, phantom voices call out names from unseen corners, and shadows linger just beyond the reach of flashlights. Cold drafts sweep across narrow corridors, and unseen presences seem to observe every movement. The Manea's abandoned tunnels and tragic history amplify these experiences, leaving visitors with a haunting, immersive sense that the spirits of miners who died here continue to inhabit the place. For those daring to explore its depths, the St. Joseph Mine is not merely an abandoned silver and lead Manea, it is a living testament to the past, a space where the echoes of labor, tragedy, and the supernatural converge in unforgettable ways. The Comstock Lode in Nevada, one of the most famous silver mines in American history, was a beacon of wealth and ambition during the mid-19th century. Its tunnels and shafts once echoed with the sounds of labor, the clatter of pickaxes, and the shouts of miners chasing fortune. Today, long after Manea's operation ceased, the Comstock Lode continues to draw visitors not just for its historical significance, but for the paranormal phenomena reported deep within its abandoned shafts. Sightings of miners carrying lanterns, disembodied cries echoing through tunnels, and strange rumbling sounds when no machinery is present to create a reputation that blends history with lingering mystery. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are ghostly miners seen carrying lanterns. Visitors often describe seeing small pools of light moving along darkened corridors, as if the miners were still tending to their work. One explorer recounted walking a narrow shaft when a glowing lantern appeared ahead, illuminating a figure in period mining attire. The figure seemed to pause briefly, then vanished as he approached, leaving nothing but the faint glimmer of light suspended in midair. Others have reported seeing multiple miners moving together, their lanterns bobbing in unison, following paths that align with the Manea-S original work routes. These spectral lights often appear in areas where historical records indicate accidents or intensive labor, suggesting a lingering presence that honors the Manea-S past. Disembodied cries and voices are another hallmark of the Comstock Lothian-S haunting. Visitors frequently report hearing shouts, murmurs, and desperate calls echoing through empty tunnels. One hiker described the sound of a miner crying for help, the voice echoing off stone walls, fading just as he tried to pinpoint its source. Others have reported whispers giving warnings, fragmented conversation, or the sounds of disputes carried on the damp air of the shafts. These auditory phenomena often seem reactive, intensifying in a moment of solitude or when someone moves deeper into the mine, reinforcing the sense that the spirits of those who toiled and suffered here are still present. Strange rumbling and vibration without machinery add a tactile dimension to the haunting. Visitors report feeling low-frequency vibrations underfoot, as though heavy carts or tools are being moved, yet no equipment exists. One explorer noted a deep, rolling rumble emanating from a collapsed section of the mine, which continued for several minutes before abruptly stopping. Others describe intermittent shakes and tremors that cannot be explained by natural settling or seismic activity. The combination of sound, vibration, and darkness creates a visceral sense of being surrounded by unseen activity, further suggesting that the Manea-S spectral occupants continue their labor in a form beyond human perception. The layering of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences creates an immersive atmosphere. Visitors may simultaneously see a lantern flickering down a distant tunnel, hear muffled cries from a side shaft, and feel the floor vibrate beneath them. This convergent heightened perception and anxiety, as every shadow, echo, or rumble feels charged with meaning. Many explorers report an acute awareness of being observed, sensing the Manea-S past residents moving alongside or ahead of them. Creating an unnerving connection between the living and the spectral. The structure of the Comstock Lode enhances these experiences. Narrow passageways, tall vertical shafts, and uneven rock surfaces amplify echoes and distort light. A single metallic sound can reverberate for hundreds of feet, while flickering lanterns or sunlight filtering through openings can cast moving shapes across walls, appearing almost animate. Drafts flowing through the tunnels can mimic ghostly touches, and subtle tremors from the earth can create the illusion of unseen movement. These natural features, combined with the Manea-S history of labor and tragedy, make an environment where perception is easily heightened and ordinary events take on supernatural significance. The Comstock Lode was the site of numerous mining accidents, cave-ins, and fatalities. Reports of ghostly miners carrying lanterns, echoing cries, and rumbling vibrations are often associated with areas where these events occurred. Visitors interpret these phenomena as echoes of past labor and tragedy, as if the mine itself preserved the memory of those who suffered and continues to replay their presence. The combination of history, danger, and human loss creates a strong emotional resonance, making the haunting feel both real and poignant. Psychological factors also play a role. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of the Manea-S violent past heightened sensitivity to environmental cues. Shadows may appear animate, echoes interpreted as cries or conversation, and subtle vibrations perceived as purposeful movement. Shadows may appear animate, echoes interpreted as cries or conversation, and subtle vibrations perceived as purposeful movement. Shadows may appear animate, echoes interpreted as cries or conversation, and subtle vibrations perceived as purposeful movement. Many visitors report dreams or memories that replay visual, auditory, and tactile impressions, merging perception and imagination. Many visitors report dreams or memories that replay visual, auditory, and tactile impressions, merging perception and imagination. This blurring of reality and memory reinforces the Manea-S eerie reputation and ensures that its influence persists long after exploration. Even in daylight, the memory of lanterns, cries, and phantom vibrations colors perception. Tunnels, shafts, and collapsed passages retain subtle impressions of history, making the mind feel alive and attentive. Tunnels, shafts, and collapsed passages retain subtle impressions of history, making the mind feel alive and attentive. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Comstock lode is more than an abandoned silver mine. It is a living repository of human labor, tragedy, and lingering spirit. At the Comstock lode, ghostly miners carry flickering lanterns down deserted shafts. Disembodied cries echo through tunnels, and strange rumbling sounds reverberate when no machinery exists. Shadows lurk just beyond the beam of flashlights, and cold drafts sweep through passages, heightening the sense of unseen presence. The mine structure, combined with its long history of labor and fatalities, leaving visitors with a haunting, immersive sense that the spirits of miners continue to dwell in the shafts. For those who venture into its depths, the Comstock lode, to the lives, labor, and lingering echoes of the past. The Homestake Mine in South Dakota, known as one of the deepest mines in the United States, had a long history of silver and gold extraction that stretches back over a century. Its tunnels delve thousands of feet beneath the Black Hills, creating an environment both awe-inspiring and foreboding. Over the years, the mine has been the site of numerous accidents, collapses, and fatalities, leaving a legacy that extends beyond the living. Today, paranormal investigators and explorers report a range of unusual phenomena, including ghostly figures climbing ladders, muffled cries echoing from abandoned chambers, and cold spots that seem to follow visitors as they navigate the dark, twisting corridors. One of the most frequently reported occurrences in the Homestake Mine is the sighting of ghostly miners ascending or descending ladders deep within the shafts. Visitors describe faint, translucent figures in period mining attire, often appearing momentarily in the glow of their flashlights before vanishing into the darkness. Visitors as they navigate the dark, twisting corridors. One investigator recounted standing at the base of a vertical shaft when he saw a miner slowly climb a rusted ladder, pausing midway as if aware of his presence, then disappearing entirely. Others report multiple figures performing similar motions in sequence, giving the impression that the Manea as spectral workers are continuing routines established long ago. These apparitions often appear near areas known historically for accidents or dangerous work, reinforcing the sense that the past is alive in the present. Auditory phenomena are equally compelling. Many visitors report muffled cries and whispers echoing from abandoned chambers, often in areas where access is difficult or completely blocked. One explorer described hearing the sound of a miner calling for help from a shaft long collapsed, the voice distant yet unmistakable, echoing off rock walls before fading into silence. Others have reported indistinct murmurs, the clinking of tools, or hurried footsteps that cease when approached. These sounds often seem reactive, intensify in moments of solitude or when someone ventures deeper into the tunnels, heightening the sensation that the mine is inhabited by unseen presences that remember the labor and misfortune of decades past. Cold spots are another hallmark of the Homestake Manea-esque haunting. Visitors frequently experience sudden drops in temperature as they move through long-forgotten corridors or descend into deep chambers. These cold spots often appear to follow individuals, drifting along corridors or enveloping them in an icy presence. One hiker reported walking through a horizontal tunnel when a sudden chill brushed across his shoulders, and though he turned, the source remained invisible. Others have described the cold spreading rapidly through the space, seemingly responding to their movement, creating a tangible, unsettling reminder that the mine is far from empty. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes the Homestake Mine particularly immersive. Many visitors report experiencing multiple types of paranormal activity simultaneously, seeing figures climbing ladders, hearing cries echo from side shafts, and feeling cold drafts brush past their skin. This layering heightens awareness, making the tunnels feel alive, as though the spirits of Manea-esque workers continue to patrol, observe, and interact with intruders. The experience is often described as both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a vivid reminder of the Manea-S history and the dangers it once held. Vertical shafts, narrow passageways, and long, twisting tunnels create natural echoes and shadows. Sounds reverberate unpredictably, making distant noises seem closer, while dim light from flashlights reflects off rock surfaces to create moving shapes that can appear animate. The depth and complexity of the tunnels also create drafts and shifts in air currents, which can mimic the sensation of invisible presences brushing past. Together, these architectural features create an environment where perception is heightened and ordinary occurrences can take on an otherworldly quality. Historical context plays a significant role in the Manea-S haunted reputation. Homestake Mine claimed numerous lives during its operation, and many believe that the spirits of those lost remain tethered to the tunnels where they perished. Ghostly figures climbing ladders, muffled cries, and wandering cold spots are often interpreted as echoes of miners reliving their routines or attempting to warn the living. These phenomena serve as a reminder of the Manea-S dangerous past, transforming the deep shafts and abandoned chambers into a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. Psychological factors also contribute to the intensity of experiences. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of past accidents heighten sensitivity to environmental cues. Shadows may appear animate. Echoes may be interpreted as voices, and subtle air movements may feel like contact from unseen hands. Many visitors report dreams or memories replaying the Manea-S sounds, lights, and sensations, blending perception and imagination, and reinforcing the Manea-S eerie influence long after leaving. Even in daylight, the memory of figures, cries, and cold drafts colors perception. Shafts, chambers, and old equipment retain subtle impressions of past activity, making the mind feel charged with presence. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Homestake Mine is more than an abandoned mining city. It is a living testament to the labor, danger, and lingering spirits of its history. At the Homestake Mine, ghostly miners climb ladders in deep shafts, muffled cries echo through abandoned chambers, and cold spots trail visitors along winding tunnels. Shadows flicker just beyond the reach of flashlights, and the Manea-S twisting passages amplify every sound, movement, and chill. Its architecture, combined with a long history of labor and tragedy, makes the mine a place where the past is tangible and the supernatural feels near. For explorers daring enough to descend into its depths, the Homestake Mine is not merely a historical city. It is an immersive, haunting presence, a place where the echoes of miners lost to time continue to inhabit the tunnels they once worked so tirelessly to navigate. The Bodie Mine, located near the infamous ghost town of Bodie, California, is a relic of the Stadia-S gold mining heyday. Once alive with the clanging of pickaxes, the roar of stamp mills, and the chatter of miners seeking fortune. The mine is now silent, its shafts and tunnels abandoned for decades. Yet explorers and paranormal investigators report that it is far from empty. Phantom miners are said to roam the tunnels. Tools move independently, and mysterious lights appear in areas no human can access, lending the Bodie Mine a reputation as one of the most haunted sites in the Sierra Nevada. One of the most striking phenomena reported at the Bodie Mine is the sighting of ghostly miners walking through the tunnels. Visitors describe translucent figures in period mining attire, often appearing near old shafts or collapsed corridors. One explorer recounted descending a narrow passage when he glimpsed a miner carrying a lantern, pausing as if to examine a rock wall, then vanishing into thin air before he could get closer. Others have reported seeing groups of miners moving along different levels of the shaft simultaneously, appearing to reenact work routines from a bygone era. These figures often seem aware of visitors' presence, observing silently before disappearing, leaving only a lingering sense of unease. Independent movement of tools is another frequent occurrence. Hammers, shovels, and pickaxes have been reported shifting or falling without any discernible cause. One investigator described placing a pickaxe on a ledge, only to find it lying across the tunnel floor moments later. Others have witnessed buckets swinging as if carried by invisible hands, or saw blades rattling against support beams. These phenomena are often accompanied by a feeling of pressure or being watched, suggesting the mine itself may be animated by unseen forces that mimic the labor of the miners who once worked there. Mysterious lights add a haunting visual element to the Bodhi mine. Visitors have reported seeing glowing orbs or lantern-like lights moving through tunnels and shafts, sometimes in places that are physically inaccessible or collapsed. One hiker described a faint, amber glow drifting along a vertical shaft, illuminating dust particles in the air, before fading out completely. Others have seen multiple lights flickering along parallel tunnels, moving in patterns that suggest deliberate paths. These lights often appear in areas associated with accidents or historical mining activity, reinforcing the impression that the Minea Pass inhabitants continue to leave their mark. The convergence of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes the Bodhi mine especially immersive. Explorers often experience ghostly figures moving, tools shifting on their own, and lights appearing simultaneously. Some report feeling cold drafts sweep through the tunnels, while the sounds of distant clanging or muted voices echo along corridors. This layering of experiences heightens awareness and amplifies the sense of being observed, creating an atmosphere where the mind feels alive, not with modern machinery, but with the memories and spirits of those who once labored within its walls. The Minea structure enhances these encounters. Narrow shafts, twisting tunnels, and collapsed areas create natural acoustics that distort sound, amplifying echoes and making ordinary noises appear supernatural. Dim light from flashlights reflects off rock walls, creating moving shadows that can appear animate. Air currents flowing through old ventilation shafts produce sudden gusts or chills, which are often interpreted as ghostly presences brushing past. The combination of environmental factors and historical significance creates a sensory landscape in which the paranormal seems not only plausible but tangible. Bodhi was a bustling mining town in the late 1800s, and the Bodhi mine was the source of much of its wealth and tragedy. Accidents, collapses, and fatalities were common, and many believe the spirits of those who perished remained tethered to the tunnels where they died. Phantom miners walking shafts, shifting tools, and glowing lights are often interpreted as echoes of the past, preserving the memory of labor, danger, and lost lives in a way that visitors can see, hear, and feel. These encounters remind explorers that the history of the Bodhi mine is not only recorded in documents, but is imprinted on the very walls and floors of the tunnels. Psychological factors intensify these experiences. Isolation, darkness, and knowledge of Minea's violent history heighten sensitivity to subtle cues. Shadows can appear animate, echoes interpreted as conversation, and drafts felt as touches. Visitors often report that the Minea's haunting continues after leaving, with dreams and memories replaying ghostly figures, shifting tools, and drifting lights. This blending of perception, imagination, and history ensures that the Bodhi Minea's influence lingers far beyond the physical exploration of its shafts. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, moving tools, and mysterious lights colors perception. Tunnels, collapsed corridors, and rusted equipment retain an atmosphere of past activity, making the mind feel charged with presence. For those who have experienced the phenomena, the Bodhi mine is not just an abandoned mining city. It is a living testament to labor, tragedy, and lingering spirits, a place where history and the supernatural converge. At the Bodhi mine, phantom miners wander shafts, tools move on their own. And mysterious lights illuminate tunnels that no living person can reach. Cold drafts sweep corridors, and the echoes of labor long past resound in every passage. Its twisting tunnels, tragic history, and spectral activity combine to create an environment that is simultaneously fascinating and unnerving. Visitors leave with a lasting impression that the Bodhi mine is more than a relic of gold and silver Meninga. It is a place where the spirits of the past continue to walk, work, and watch those who dare to enter. The Coeur d'Alene mine in Idaho, once a bustling center of silver extraction, now lies largely abandoned, its shafts and tunnels echoing the history of decades of hard labor and frequent danger. Visitors report shadowy miners emerging from the darkness, faint hammering echoing through abandoned corridors, and ghostly lantern lights swinging in places where no human presence exists. These phenomena have transformed the Coeur d'Alene mine from a relic of industrial ambition into a site where the past seems to linger in every shadowed corner. Among the most frequently reported experiences are sightings of shadowy figures, often described as miners in period attire, moving through the tunnels. One visitor recounted walking along a narrow passage when a dark silhouette appeared at the end of the shaft, holding what seemed to be a pickaxe. The figure lingered, then slowly receded into the darkness before he could approach. Others have described seeing groups of miners moving along different levels simultaneously, performing tasks that mirror the labor recorded in historical accounts. These figures often appear briefly. Their presence is unmistakable, creating the sensation that the tunnels remain alive with the spirits of those who once worked tirelessly within them. Auditory phenomena are equally common in the Coeur d'Alene mine. Faint hammering, the rhythmic clinking of metal, and muffled voices are reported throughout the tunnels, often in areas that have been sealed or are difficult to access. One explorer described hearing a series of soft hammer strikes echoing down a side tunnel, seemingly in response to his own movements. Another reported hearing a Monera-esque voice calling a name, followed by distant footsteps that vanished before he could locate the source. These sounds often appear to be reactive, intensifying in moments of solitude or in sections of the mine where historical accidents occurred, reinforcing the eerie feeling that the mine itself remembers its past. Ghostly lantern lights add a striking visual element to the haunting. Visitors have seen small pools of light swinging gently in the corridors, drifting along paths where no person is present. One hiker described entering a collapsed shaft and seeing a lantern float through the air, illuminating dust particles and creating moving shadows across the rock walls. Others have observed multiple lights moving in sequence, tracing the original pathways miners would have followed. These spectral illuminations often vanish when approached, leaving explorers with a lingering impression that the lights are carried by unseen hands, perhaps guiding, observing, or reenacting long-forgotten routines. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes exploration of the Coeur d'Alene mine deeply immersive. Many visitors report encountering shadowy figures while hearing distant hammering and seeing ghostly lights at the same time. Cold drafts and sudden temperature changes are frequently noted, amplifying the sensation of unseen presences. This layering of phenomena heightens perception, creating an atmosphere in which every creak, echo, and flicker of light feels meaningful and deliberate. Explorers often leave with a lingering sense of being watched, as though the miners of the past continue to traverse the tunnels alongside them. The Monera-esque architecture contributes to the haunting. Narrow shafts, long twisting tunnels, and vertical drops create natural echoes and amplify shadows. Light from flashlights or lanterns casts moving shapes across the walls, giving the impression of motion where none exists. Air currents rushing through shafts create sudden chills, which are often interpreted as the presence of unseen figures. The combination of physical structure, darkness, and history creates an environment where perception is heightened and ordinary sounds or movements take on an otherworldly quality. Historical context deepens the significance of the Monera-esque paranormal reputation. The Coeur d'Alene mine was the site of countless accidents, collapses, and fatalities during its operational years. Many believe that the spirits of miners who perished remain tethered to the tunnels, where they worked and died. Shadowy figures, ghostly lanterns, and faint hammering are often seen as echoes of these past lives, preserving the memory of labor, danger, and loss in a tangible way. The mine becomes a place where history is not only remembered but also actively felt, with the physical environment serving as a conduit for lingering presences. Psychological factors intensify these encounters. Knowledge of Monera-esque dangerous history, combined with isolation and darkness, makes explorers highly sensitive to subtle environmental cues. Shadows appear animate, echoes become voices, and drafts feel like physical contact. Many report that the Monera-esque haunting continues even after leaving, with dreams and memories replaying ghostly figures, swinging lanterns, and echoing hammer strikes. This blending of perception, history, and imagination ensures that the Coeur d'Alene mine leaves a lasting impression on those who venture into its depths. Even during daylight exploration, the memory of shadowy miners, ghostly lights, and muffled sounds colors perception. Shafts, tunnels, and abandoned equipment retain a tangible atmosphere of past activity, making the mind feel alive with the echoes of labor and tragedy. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Cur de Aileen mine is more than an abandoned site of industrial worka. It is a living testament to the men who toiled, suffered, and, in some way, remain. At the Cur de Aileen mine, shadowy miners emerge from darkness. Faint hammering echoes through tunnels, and ghostly lantern lights swing in empty corridors. Cold drafts sweep passages, and the Menea's twisting shaft amplify every sound and movement. Its structure, history, and spectral activity combine to create an environment that is at once fascinating and unnerving. Structure, history, and spectral activity. And spectral activity combine to create an environment that is at once fascinating and unnerving. That the mind is alive with the presence of its past workers. A haunting reminder that the legacy of labor, danger, and human lives endures long after the shafts have fallen silent. The Monte Cristo mine in Washington, nestled high in the snow-laden Cascade Mountains, was once a thriving site of gold and silver extraction. Its steep, icy slopes and treacherous tunnels made it both lucrative and dangerous. Over the years, numerous avalanches, collapses, and mining accidents claimed the lives of many workers, leaving a history steeped in tragedy. Today, while the mine itself lies largely abandoned, visitors and paranormal investigators report eerie phenomena that suggest the spirits of miners have lingered, continuing to inhabit the shafts, cabins, and surrounding landscape. Ghostly figures gliding through snow-filled tunnels, strange noises in empty cabins, and mysterious orbs hovering near collapsed sections create an unsettling experience for those who venture into this remote and haunted location. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at the Monte Cristo mine is the sighting of spectral miners gliding through snow-laden tunnels. Explorers describe translucent figures in period mining attire, sometimes moving slowly as if carrying tools or surveying their surroundings. One visitor recounted entering a partially collapsed shaft when a ghostly figure appeared in the dim light, drifting along the snow-covered floor before disappearing into the darkness. Others report seeing multiple figures traversing tunnels simultaneously, tracing routes once used during the Menea's active years. These apparitions often appear where accidents or avalanches occurred, suggesting that the spirits remain tethered to places of their deaths, silently replaying moments from their lives underground. Auditory phenomena are a hallmark of the Monte Cristo Menea's haunting. Visitors frequently report hearing strange noises echoing through empty cabins and tunnels, including faint hammering, the creaking of old beams, and whispers that seem to drift through the mountain air. One explorer described entering a deserted cabin when he heard the sound of footsteps pacing above the loft, though no stairs or other access were present. He heard the sound of footsteps pacing above the loft, though no stairs or other access were present. Others have heard muffled voices calling names or issuing warnings, often intensifying in moments of solitude or snowfalls outside, creating a chilling, immersive experience. These sounds evoke the labor, tension, and peril of Menea's operational days, suggesting that the echoes of the past are still present. Floating orbs are another common report from visitors to Monte Cristo. These glowing spheres appear near collapsed tunnels, drift along abandoned corridors, or hover above snow-covered floors. One hiker recalled walking through a narrow passage when a pale, amber light moved along the wall, illuminating dust and frost, before vanishing completely. Others have observed multiple orbs moving in sequences, as though retracing steps of miners long gone. These lights often appear in areas that are physically inaccessible, enhancing the sense that the mine and its surroundings are inhabited by unseen forces, preserving the memory of those who worked and perished there. The combination of visual, auditory, and environmental phenomena makes the Monte Cristo mine especially immersive. Visitors often report simultaneously seeing figures, hearing ghostly sounds, and noticing floating lights. Cold drafts sweep through tunnels, snow shifts inexplicably, and the groan of timbered supports adds to the perception that the mine is alive with unseen activity. Many explorers describe an overwhelming sense of being observed, as if the spirits of past miners silently accompany them through the tunnels and cabins. The Manea's natural and structural features contribute to these haunting encounters. Narrow, snow-filled shafts, vertical drops, and steep corridors create echoes that amplify even the slightest sounds. While dim sunlight reflecting off ice and frost produces moving shadows that can appear animate. Air currents rushing through tunnels generate sudden gusts, often interpreted as invisible hands brushing past. Collapsed sections and partially buried cabins add a sense of isolation and danger, heightening awareness and making ordinary environmental effects seem supernatural. Together, these factors create a sensory environment that magnifies both history and imagination, turning the Monte Cristo mine into a stage for lingering spirits. Historical context intensifies the impact of these experiences. Monte Cristo was the site of numerous fatal avalanches and tunnel collapses, and many believe that the miners who perished remain tied to the mine, reenacting their routines or warning the living. Ghostly figures, strange noises, and floating orbs are often interpreted as echoes of these past tragedies, preserving the memory of human labor and loss. Visitors report a sense of connection to those who came before them, as though the mine itself bridges past and present, allowing glimpses of lives once lost in snow and stone. As though the mine itself bridges past and present, allowing glimpses of lives once lost in snow and stone. Psychological factors further amplify the haunting. Isolation, cold temperatures, and knowledge of the Manea's history heighten sensitivity to subtle cues. Shadows appear animate, faint sounds interpreted as voices, and drafts felt as touches. Many visitors describe dreams or lingering sensations replaying ghostly figures, floating lights, or distant hammering long after leaving the site, reinforcing the Manea's eerie influence and cementing its reputation as a place where the past refuses to remain silent. Even in daylight, the memory of gliding miners, echoing sounds, and hovering orbs colors perception. Snow-filled tunnels, collapsed shafts, and abandoned cabins retain a tangible aura of past activity, making the mind feel charged with presence. For those who have encountered these phenomena, Monte Cristo is more than a relic of industrial historia. It is a living testament to human labor, tragedy, and lingering spirit. At the Monte Cristo mine, ghostly miners glide through snow-laden shafts, strange noises echo from empty cabins, and orbs float near collapsed tunnels. Cold drafts sweep the corridors, shadows flicker, and every step seems watched. Its steep tunnels, treacherous slopes, and tragic history combine to create an environment where the supernatural feels near and the past continues to echo. For those brave enough to explore, Monte Cristo is not merely an abandoned Manea, it is a haunting, immersive connection to the miners who once toiled and perished in its depths. The Yankee Girl Mine in Colorado, renowned for its rich silver veins, sits perched high in the San Juan Mountains, a testament to the boom of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Once alive with miners extracting the precious metal, the mine now stands largely abandoned, its wooden supports creaking and shafts stretching deep into the mountainside. Despite the years of inactivity, the mine has developed a reputation among visitors and paranormal investigators for eerie activity. Apparitions carrying lanterns, disembodied voices whispering warnings, and cold drafts moving against natural airflow are frequently reported, creating an atmosphere that is as chilling as it is captivating. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the appearance of ghostly miners carrying lanterns. Visitors describe faint, translucent figures moving along the Manea's narrow corridors, the soft glow of their lanterns illuminating dust-laden air. One explorer recounted descending a steep shaft when he glimpsed a miner pause, as if observing him, then continue forward into the darkness before vanishing completely. Others report seeing multiple figures moving in unison, retracing the routes and routines of miners from over a century ago, suggesting that the spirits remain tied to the tunnels where they worked and, in some cases, perished. Auditory phenomena are also common in the Yankee Girl Mine. Disembodied voices whisper warnings or call out names, sometimes clearly audible, other times faint and almost imperceptible. Many visitors have reported hearing phrases like a "watch your steepa" or a "don'tty go further" echoing from deep within the shafts. Others describe the sound of footsteps or the clinking of tools, often occurring in tunnels long blocked or inaccessible. These noises often react to the presence of the observer, intensifying when one pauses or ventures deeper into the mine, reinforcing the sense that the spirits are aware of those who enter their domain. Cold drafts moving against the natural airflow of the mine are another hallmark of it haunting. Visitors often feel sudden drops in temperature in certain corridors or chambers, even when external conditions remain stable. One investigator described walking along a horizontal shaft when a chilling gust swept through, brushing against him from an unseen source. Others have noted similar experiences, with cold pockets lingering in areas with no ventilation or logical explanation. The drafts often coincide with sightings of apparitions or auditory phenomena, suggesting a connection between physical sensations and the spiritual activity within the mine. The convergence of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes the Yankee Girl mine particularly immersive. Many visitors report encountering lantern-bearing figures, while simultaneously hearing whispers and feeling cold drafts. Shadows flicker in the corners of corridors. Dust and debris seem to move subtly, and the wooden beams groan as though responding to unseen weight. Explorers often report a sense of being observed, as though the spirits of past miners silently accompany them through the twisting shafts. The Manea-esque architecture amplifies these encounters. Narrow tunnels, steep shafts, and angled corridors create natural acoustics, echoing sounds in unexpected ways. Dim light from flashlights reflects off rock and timber, casting moving shadows that can appear animate. Air currents flow unpredictably through abandoned ventilation shafts, producing sudden chills and gusts. The combination of environmental factors and historical context turns ordinary effects into experiences that feel supernatural, enhancing perception of the mine as a place still inhabited by the spirits of those who labored there. Historical context is central to the Manea-esque haunting reputation. The Yankee Girl mine claimed numerous lives during its operational years, with accidents, collapses, and exposure to harsh conditions taking a heavy toll on its workforce. Many believe that the spirits of these miners remain tied to the mine, performing the routines of their labor, warning the living of danger, or silently observing intruders. Psychological factors also play a role in these experiences. Isolation, darkness, and knowledge of Manea-esque dangerous past heightened sensitivity to subtle cues. Shadows can appear animate, echoes interpreted as voices, and drafts felt as contact. Many visitors report that the haunting lingers after leaving, with dreams or memories replaying the ghostly figures, whispering voices, or chilling gusts. This blending of perception, history, and imagination ensures that the Yankee Girl mine continues to leave a lasting impression on those who explore its depths. Even in daylight, the memory of apparitions, whispers, and inexplicable cold changes color's perception. Tunnels, shafts, and timbered supports retain a palpable sense of past activity, making the mine feel alive with history and lingering presence. For those who encounter these phenomena, the Yankee Girl mine is more than an abandoned silver Manea. It is a living testament to labor, tragedy, and the spirits of miners who remain connected to the tunnels they once called their workplace. At the Yankee Girl mine, ghostly miners glide to the shaft with lanterns in hand. Disembodied voices whisper warnings, and cold drafts sweep through corridors against natural airflow. Shadows flicker, footsteps echo, and the Manea-esque structure amplifies every sound and movement. Its steep passages, tragic history, and spectral activity combine to create a haunting environment where the past continues to linger, a place where the spirits of miners endure and continue to watch over the tunnels of the Yankee Girl mine. The Gold King mine in Colorado, nestled in the rugged mountains near Silverton, was once a hub of silver and gold mining activity. Its tunnels and shafts, carved deep into steep rock faces, were sites of both fortune and tragedy. Over the decades, numerous accidents and collapses claimed the lives of miners, leaving a legacy of danger and loss. Today, the mine is largely abandoned, yet visitors and paranormal investigators continue to report unsettling phenomena. Ghostly miners appear to reenact past accidents. Strange glowing lights illuminate dark tunnels, and footsteps echo from collapsed areas where no human presence exists. Residual energy seems trapped in the rock walls, a haunting reminder of the Manea's perilous past. One of the most reported occurrences of the Gold King mine is the sighting of ghostly miners engaged in reenactments of historical accidents. Visitors describe shadowy figures pausing suddenly, as if caught mid-task, or moving as though they are performing the work they once did. One explorer recounted seeing a miner trapped under a falling beam, only for the figure to vanish before he could approach. Others have reported groups of miners appearing in different tunnels, retracing paths and movements that mimic the routines of miners from the late 1800s. These apparitions often manifest near collapsed shafts or areas known for mining accidents, creating an unnerving sense that the past continues to unfold within the mine's walls. Strange glowing lights are another hallmark of the Gold King mine's paranormal activity. Visitors have observed orbs of soft amber, white, or blue light moving along tunnels, where no electricity or natural illumination exists. One paranormal investigator described following a faint glow down a narrow passage, only for it to vanish around a corner. Others have reported seeing multiple lights flicker simultaneously, drifting near collapsed tunnels or old timber supports. These lights often appear to have a purpose, guiding the way or highlighting sections of the mine where historical events occurred. Their presence enhances the sense that the mine is not empty, but still inhabited by the echoes of miners who worked and perished there. Auditory phenomena intensify the haunting experience. Visitors report hearing footsteps echoing from areas that have long been collapsed or sealed. These sounds often seem reactive, quickening when someone pauses or slowing as they move. Faint hammering, clinking tools, and muffled voices are frequently reported, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of a presence brushing past. One explorer recalled hearing the distinct sound of a pickaxe striking rock from a shaft that had been blocked for decades. Others have reported hearing immersive voices calling warnings or names, the echoes seeming to follow them through the tunnels. Paranormal investigators suggest that residual energy is trapped within the Manea's rock walls. This energy imprint appears to replay traumatic events, such as accidents or moments of intense labor. Witnesses often describe a sensation of copyright déjà vu, as though the mine itself is alive with memory. Apparitions, glowing lights, and auditory phenomena all seem to converge in areas where accidents occurred or where miners lost their lives, creating a layered experience that is both historical and supernatural. The energy seems most intense near collapsed shafts, timber supports, and deep, isolated tunnels, as though the Manea's stone remembers the lives and deaths it has witnessed. Environmental factors amplify the haunting. Narrow passages, steep tunnels, and vertical drops create natural acoustics, allowing even faint sounds to carry across great distances. Shadows cast by flashlights reflect off jagged rock walls, giving the impression of movement where none exists. Air currents flow unpredictably through collapsed sections, producing sudden gusts that feel like unseen hands. Combined with knowledge of the mine's dangerous history, these factors heighten perception and make ordinary occurrences feel extraordinary. Psychological effects also play a role in shaping these experiences. Isolation, darkness, and awareness of historical tragedies heighten sensitivity to visual and auditory stimuli. Shadows appear animate, echoes become voices, and environmental changes feel like physical contact. Many visitors report that the haunting persists after leaving the mine, with dreams and memories replaying ghostly figures, glowing lights, and distant hammering. This blending of perception, history, and imagination ensures that the Gold King mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter its tunnels. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, glowing lights, and echoing footsteps lingers. The Manea's collapsed shafts, timber supports, and narrow corridors retain a tangible sense of past activity, making it feel alive with history and presence. For those who have experienced these phenomena, the Gold King mine is more than an abandoned silver and gold city. It is a living testament to the labor, peril, and enduring spirit of the miners who once called its tunnels home. At the Gold King mine, shadowy miners reenact past accidents. Strange lights drift through empty tunnels, and footsteps echo from collapsed areas. Cold drafts sweep through the passages, and Manea-S walls seem to retain the memory of tragedy and toil. Its steep shafts, historical accidents, and lingering energy combine to create a place where history and the supernatural converge. In every shadow corner, visitors leave with the sense that the mine is alive, with the presence of those who labored and perished within. A place where history and the supernatural converge. In every shadowed corner, where the past continues to exist. The Independence Mine in Alaska, perched high in the rugged Talkeetna Mountains, is a relic of the early 20th century gold rush. Once a bustling hub of prospectors and miners, it is now abandoned, its wooden structures weathered by decades of harsh winters and heavy snowfall. Despite its abandonment, the mine has gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors report sightings of phantom miners, glowing lanterns drifting through darkened corridors, and strange rumbling noises emanating from deep underground. Many believe that the spirits who perish within the mine remain to this day, protecting its treasures and silently observing anyone who dares to enter. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at the Independence Mine is the appearance of ghostly miners. Witnesses describe translucent figures dressed in period mining attire, carrying pickaxes, shovels, or lanterns, moving through corridors or pause near old equipment as if performing tasks long since abandoned. One visitor recounted entering a long tunnel when a figure emerged from the shadows, paused to look directly at him, and then vanished as he approached. Others have described groups of miners moving silently along different shafts, as though continuing the work they had been doing before tragedy struck. These apparitions often appear in areas where historical mining accidents occurred, suggesting a connection between the spirits and the locations where their lives were claimed by the Manea-S treacherous conditions. Glowing lanterns are another hallmark of the haunting. Visitors often see small, amber or pale lights drifting through dark tunnels or along wooden walkways where no electricity or human presence exists. One hiker reported following a dim lantern light down a narrow passage only for it to vanish around a bend, leaving the corridor in total darkness. Others have witnessed multiple lights floating in sequence, appearing to trace paths once used by miners. These spectral illuminations are often reported in areas that are structurally unstable or blocked by collapsed rock, adding an eerie sense that the mine's spirits continue to move freely where the living cannot. Auditory phenomena further heighten the mine's unsettling atmosphere. Strange rumblings, deep underground echoes, and muffled voices are commonly reported, leaving the corridor in total darkness. Visitors often hear footsteps echoing through empty shafts, the distant clanging of tools, or whispers calling warnings. One explorer described a low, continuous rumble reverberating through the tunnels, coinciding with the sighting of a ghostly miner nearby. Others have heard voices uttering miners' names or offering instructions, only to find no one present. The sounds often seem responsive, intensifying in moments of isolation or as explorers venture deeper into the mine, creating a sense that the spirits are aware of intruders and that the mine itself is alive with memory. Cold drafts and sudden temperature shifts are another aspect of the paranormal activity. Visitors frequently report icy gusts sweeping through tunnels, seemingly against the natural airflow, brushing against them as they walk. These chills often occur in conjunction with sightings of apparitions or floating lanterns, reinforcing the impression of unseen presences. Many describe feeling watched, a sensation that grows more intense in the narrow, isolated corridors where echoes carry and shadows appear to move independently. The environment, combined with the history of danger and loss, amplifies the perception of the mine as a place both alive and haunted. The architecture and environment of the Independence Mine contribute significantly to its haunting. Narrow shafts, vertical drops, and wooden supports create natural echoes, making every sound carry far and wide. Dim sunlight filtering through cracks in the timbers casts shifting shadows, giving the illusion of movement. The mountainous surroundings funnel wind through tunnels unpredictably, producing sudden gusts that heighten the sense of presence. Combined with knowledge of Manea-S dangerous past, these environmental factors make ordinary occurrences of shadows, creaks, echoes to feel deeply supernatural. Historical context is central to Manea's paranormal reputation. Independence Mine claimed the lives of miners in collapses, avalanches, and work-related accidents. And many believe their spirits remain, bound to the site by unfinished business or tragedy. Apparitions, lanterns, rumbling noises, and cold drafts are interpreted as echoes of past events, manifestations of Miner's attempts to continue their work or guard the mine from outsiders. Many visitors describe an unmistakable sense of caution, as if the spirits are silently ensuring that the mine remains undisturbed, protecting its history and the dangers within. Psychological effects intensify these encounters. Isolation, darkness, and awareness of past tragedies heighten sensitivity to sounds and visual cues. Shadows appear animate, echoes become voices, and sudden chills feel like contact. Visitors often report that the haunting persists after leaving, with dreams replaying figures carrying lanterns, rumbling tunnels, and ghostly footsteps. This combination of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Independence Mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter its depths. Even in daylight, the memory of phantom miners, floating lanterns, and deep underground rumblings lingers. The Manea's shafts, collapsed tunnels, and weathered wooden structures retain a tangible presence, making it feel alive with history. For those who have encountered these phenomena, Independence Mine is more than a deserted gold Manea. It is a place where the spirits of those who worked and perished continue to exist, guarding the tunnels and echoing the stories of its past. At the Independence Mine, ghostly miners traverse darkened tunnels, lanterns float along abandoned corridors, and strange rumblings emanate from deep underground. At the Independence Mine, ghostly miners traverse darkened tunnels, lanterns float along abandoned corridors, and strange rumblings emanate from deep underground. At the Independence Mine, ghostly miners traverse darkened tunnels, lanterns float along abandoned corridors, and strange rumblings emanate from deep underground. Cold drafts sweep passages against natural airflow, and Manea's structure amplifies every sound and shadow. Cold drafts sweep passages against natural airflow, and Manea's structure amplifies every sound and shadow. Its treacherous shafts, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past continues to exist, a place where the miners who once toiled still silently watch over the tunnels of the Independence Mine. The Cornish mines in Pennsylvania, remnants of the state's rich mining history, are perched on steep hillsides and carved into the earth with shafts that twist deep into rock. Once bustling with miners, these mines were centers of labor, danger, and occasional tragedy. Today, they are largely abandoned, but visitors continue to report chilling paranormal activity. Shadowy figures in old work clothes, the clanging of tools in empty tunnels, and ghostly voices echoing through abandoned shafts create an atmosphere that blurs the line between history and the supernatural. Explorers, hikers, and paranormal investigators alike have recounted experiences suggesting that the Cornish mines remain alive with the presence of those who once worked within their walls. One of the most frequent reports involves sightings of shadowy figures dressed in period mining attire. Witnesses describe translucent silhouettes moving along narrow tunnels, pausing to examine tools, or descending staircases long unused. Some explorers have claimed to see figures appear suddenly at the end of a shaft, seemingly aware of their presence, only to vanish when approached. Others have observed miners performing repetitive motions, as though reenacting the labor extraction or shoring up unstable walls, giving the impression that the past is frozen and yet active within the mine. These apparitions often appear near areas where accidents or cave-ins historically occurred, suggesting that the spirits remain tethered to places of danger and death. Visitors report the clanging of pickaxes, hammers striking rock, and tools dropping or scraping against the walls, even in areas sealed off for decades. Ghostly voices are frequently heard echoing through tunnels, sometimes whispering warnings like a "watch your steepa" or a "back away," other times calling names or repeating fragmented sentences. One investigator described walking through a long horizontal shaft when the sound of hammering echoed from a collapsed section, creating a disorienting effect, as though the sound originated both near and far simultaneously. These auditory experiences often intensify when individuals are alone, making the mind feel alive with unseen laborers. Environmental effects heighten the sense of the supernatural. Cold drafts sweep through the shafts without apparent source, particularly near collapsed tunnels or deep vertical drops. Shadows flicker in the glow of flashlights, giving the illusion of movement where none exists. Structural elements, such as timber supports, groan under pressure, sometimes mimicking the rhythm of footsteps or other human activity. Combined with Manea's historical significance, these environmental cues contribute to perception that the Cornish mines are still inhabited by the spirits of miners long past. Visual phenomena also accompany many experiences. Visitors have reported glowing orbs drifting through shafts, appearing at eye level before disappearing into walls. Dust and debris sometimes shift inexplicably, giving an impression that Summonia or something is moving to the tunnels. The interplay of light, shadow, and movement in the narrow corridors creates moments when figures seem to appear from nowhere, only to vanish moments later. These visual manifestations, often paired with auditory phenomena, produce a compelling and immersive haunting experience. Historical context plays a significant role in shaping these encounters. The Cornish mines were known for their treacherous conditions, with collapses, explosions, and exposure to harsh environmental elements claiming the lives of many miners. Paranormal investigators suggest that these tragic events may have left a residual energy within the tunnels, replaying moments of stress, labor, and fear. The shadowy figures, clanging tools, and whispered voices may be echoes of these past events, acting as reminders of Manea's dangerous and unforgiving history. Psychological factors also enhance the haunting experience. The isolation, darkness, and knowledge of past accidents increase visitors' sensitivity to subtle cues. Shadows may appear animate, faint sounds interpreted as voices, and sudden gusts of air felt as unseen touches. Many visitors report that the sense of being watched persists even after leaving the mines, with dreams or memories replaying the ghostly figures and echoing noises encountered underground. This combination of perception, history, and imagination ensures that the Cornish mines leave a lasting impression. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, floating lights, and clanging tools lingers. The tunnels, shafts, and timber supports retain a tangible sense of past activity, making the mines feel alive with history. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Cornish mines are more than abandoned mining operations. They are living monuments to the labor, danger, and lingering presence of the miners who once toiled within their walls. At the Cornish mines, shadowy figures in period mining attire move silently through narrow tunnels. The sound of tools clanging echoes through empty shafts, and ghostly voices whisper warnings or call names. Cold drafts sweep through passages, shadows flicker, and orbs of light drift inexplicably along abandoned corridors. The mine's history of labor, accidents, and human endurance seems embedded in the very walls, creating a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent. Visitors leave with a sense that the Cornish mines are still watched, still alive with the spirits of those who built them, and still echoing the story of every life spent in their depths. The Gold Strike Mine in Nevada, a relic of the state's storied mining history, sits isolated in the rugged desert landscape, once alive with the clamor of pickaxes, hammering, and the voices of miners seeking fortune. It now lies abandoned, its tunnels and shafts silent, except for the occasional gust of wind, phantom lamps floating above tunnels, and disembodied cries warning trespassers to leave. The mine, steeped in history and tragedy, seems to retain the presence of those who once labored within its walls. Sightings of ghostly miners are among the most common experiences reported at the Gold Strike Mine. Witnesses describe shadowy figures dressed in period mining attire, carrying tools or moving with deliberate purpose through the narrow tunnels. One visitor recounted seeing a miner pause at the edge of a collapsed shaft, as if inspecting the unstable rock, before disappearing into the shadows. Others have observed groups of figures appearing in different sections of mine, performing motions reminiscent of shoring up tunnels or extracting ore. These apparitions are often reported near areas historically associated with accidents, suggesting a connection between the spirits and the locations where life was lost in pursuit of precious metals. Phantom lamps are another recurring phenomenon. Visitors often see small orbs of light floating along darkened corridors, swinging as if carried by invisible hands. One paranormal investigator described following a faint glow down a steep shaft, only for the lamp to vanish around a corner, leaving him in pitch-black darkness. Some witnesses report multiple floating lights, drifting in sequence along passageways where no human presence exists. The spectral illumination often highlights collapsed or dangerous sections of the mine, as though the spirits of Gedinga or Warninga those who wander too far into hazardous areas. Disembodied cries, whispers, and echoes of past labor are frequently reported. Visitors describe hearing muffled shouts, the clanging of tools, or voices calling warnings like, "Hey, get out," or "Hey, don't go further," "Hey." One explorer noted a sudden series of sharp cries echoing from a long sealed shaft, followed by the distinct sound of footsteps approaching, then fading away. Others have heard the low rumble of rocks, shifting, or distant mining equipment, even though the mine has been abandoned for decades. These sounds often appear reactive, growing louder or more insistent when a person stops or ventures deeper into the mine, as if the spirits are aware of intruders and are intent on driving them away. Environmental effects heighten the sense of the supernatural. Cold drafts sweep through the tunnels without apparent source, brushing against visitors and creating a chilling sensation. The combination of darkness, isolation, and Manea-S inherent hazards amplifies these sensations, making ordinary occurrences feel extraordinary and supernatural. Historical context adds depth to these experiences. The Gold Strike mine was the site of multiple accidents and collapses, claiming the lives of miners who worked under harsh conditions. Paranormal investigators theorize that the tragedies left residual energy, replaying moments of fear, labor, and death. Apparitions of miners, floating lamps, and disembodied cries may be echoes of these past events, attempts by spirits to preserve the memory of their labor, or even protect the mine from the living. Some visitors describe an undeniable sense of caution, as if the mine itself warns outsiders to tread carefully or depart entirely. Psychological factors also contribute to the haunting experience. Awareness of Manea-S history, combined with darkness and isolation, heightens perception. Shadows appear animate, echoes become voices, and sudden gusts of air feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the sense of being watched persists long after leaving the mine, and dreams often replay figures' cries and phantom lights. This blending of perception, history, and imagination ensures that the Gold Strike mine leaves a lasting impression. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, floating lamps, and disembodied cries lingers. The Manea-S shafts, collapsed tunnels, and weathered structures retain a palpable sense of past activity. For those who have encountered these phenomena, the Gold Strike mine is more than an abandoned excavation. It is a place where the labor, danger, and lingering presence of miners continue to manifest, a site where the past refuses to remain silent. At the Gold Strike mine, shadowy miners wander near collapsed shafts, phantom lamps flow above tunnels, and cries echo through passages warning trespassers to leave. Cold drafts sweep corridors, shadows flicker unpredictably, and the mine itself seems alive with memory. Its steep tunnels, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the presence of the past is tangible, a place where miners who once sought gold continue to linger, ensuring that the story of their labor, danger, and death is never forgotten. The Union Mine in California, a relic of the state's gold and silver mining era, lies abandoned in the rugged hills, its tunnels and shafts long since silent, except for the occasional whisper of wind. Known historically for explosions and fatal accidents, the mine has earned a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors and explorers report apparitions of miners reenacting past work, strange sound of machinery operating alone, and phantom lanterns appearing in the dark, creating an eerie atmosphere that suggests the mine's history refuses to remain buried. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at the Union Mine is the appearance of ghostly miners. Visitors describe translucent figures dressed in early 20th century mining attire, often carrying pickaxes, shovels, or lanterns. These apparitions are sometimes seen moving deliberately through narrow shafts, pausing to inspect equipment, or shoring up unstable walls. Witnesses report that the miners appear to be caught in loops, reenacting tasks they performed during their working lives. One explorer recalled a miner frozen mid-strike, swinging a pickaxe at rock, only to vanish when approached. Other visitors described groups of figures moving silently through the tunnels, performing motions that mirror historical accounts of work routines, giving the eerie impression that the past is continuing in the present. Visitors frequently report small, glowing orbs drifting along corridors where no electricity exists, illuminating the tunnels with a soft amber light. One paranormal investigator described following a faint glow down a narrow passage, only for it to disappear around a corner, leaving the tunnel in total darkness. At times, multiple lanterns are observed floating in sequence, tracing pathways where miners historically traveled. These lights often appear near areas where accidents or explosions occurred, giving the impression that the spirits are either guiding or warning those who enter the mine. Auditory phenomena further contribute to the haunting reputation of the Union Mine. Visitors report hearing the hum of machinery, clanging of tools, and distant explosions, even in sections that have long been abandoned or sealed. Ghostly voices are frequently heard whispering warnings, calling names, or repeating fragmented phrases. One hiker described hearing the low rumble of a hoist operating, followed by the metallic clang of a dropped tool, despite the equipment being rusted and inoperative for decades. These sounds often seem reactive, intensifying when explorers venture deeper into the mine, or pause in isolated areas, creating the impression that the spirits are aware of their presence. Environmental effects amplify these paranormal experiences. Cold drafts sweep unpredictably through the tunnels, sometimes brushing against visitors as if invisible hands are present. Shadows flicker in the beam of a flashlight, appearing to move independently of their surroundings. Wooden supports creak under pressure, occasionally mimicking the rhythm of footsteps or the clanging of tools. Narrow passageways and deep shafts enhance acoustics, allowing even faint sounds to echo over long distances. Combined with the Manea-esque dark history, these natural effects create an immersive, unsettling atmosphere that heightens the sense of a living, haunted environment. Historical context is central to the Manea-esque paranormal activity. The Union Mine was notorious for its dangerous conditions, with explosions, cave-ins, and fatal accidents claiming the lives of many miners. Paranormal investigators suggest that these traumatic events left residual energy, replaying moments of labor, fear, and tragedy. Apparitions of miners, phantom lanterns, and strange machinery sounds may be echoes of these past events, attempts by spirits to continue their work or to warn intruders of the dangers hidden within the tunnels. Many visitors describe a distinct sense of caution, as if the mine itself is protective, guarding its history and secrets. Psychological factors also play a role in shaping these experiences. Darkness, isolation, and awareness of historical tragedies heighten sensitivity to sounds, shadows, and visual cues. Shadows may appear animate, echoes interpreted as voices, and sudden gusts of air felt as touches from unseen presences. Visitors often report that the haunting persists even after leaving the mine, with dreams replaying ghostly figures, glowing lanterns, and the rhythmic clang of tools. This blending of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Union Mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter its tunnels. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, phantom lanterns, and unexplained machinery sounds lingers. The mine shafts, timber supports, and collapsed areas retain a tangible sense of past activity, making the abandoned site feel alive with history and unseen presences. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, the Union Mine is more than a deserted excavation. It is a place where the spirits of miners who perish in explosions continue to linger, reenacting their work and preserving the memory of the Manea-esque perilous past. At the Union Mine, apparitions of miners reenact past work. Phantom lanterns float along abandoned corridors, and strange machinery sounds echo through the tunnels. Cold drafts sweep through passages, shadows flicker, and the air is heavy with history. Its steep shafts, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the labor and tragedies of the past continue to exist. Visitors leave with a sense that the mine is alive with the presence of those who worked, suffered, and died within its walls, a place with a story of human endeavor and losses never truly silent. The Silver Queen Mine in Idaho, nestled deep within the rugged hills of the Silver Valley, stands as a silent testament to the state's rich mining history. Once a bustling hub of activity, the mine extracted silver and other precious metals, providing livelihoods, but also claiming lives through accidents and collapses. Today, the mine is abandoned, its shafts dark and treacherous, yet has gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Explorers and visitors report shadowy figures carrying tools, faint echoes of voices, and cold spots that appear and vanish without explanation, creating an eerie atmosphere that suggests the presence of miners who never left the tunnels. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves apparitions of miners. Visitors describe translucent figures dressed in early 20th century mining attire, carrying pickaxes, shovels, or lanterns. These shadowy figures often appear near collapsed shafts or in long abandoned work areas, moving deliberately as though still engaged in their daily labor. One explorer recalled entering a narrow tunnel, when a miner appeared ahead, stooping to examine a rock face, before vanishing as he approached. Others have reported seeing groups of miners moving silently along the corridors, performing repetitive motions that seem frozen in time, as if the mine itself has preserved the last moments of their work. Visitors frequently report faint echoes of voices, whispers of warnings, or fragments of conversations that seem to carry through the stone corridors. Some describe the clanging of tools or the distant rumble of collapsing rock, even in areas where no activity is possible. One investigator noted hearing a Monera-esque voice call out a name, followed by the soft sound of footsteps fading into the distance. These sounds often appear reactive, intensify when explorers pause or venture deeper into mine, creating the unsettling impression that the spirits are aware of intruders and are attempting to communicate or warn those who enter. Cold spots and sudden temperature shifts further enhance the eerie atmosphere. Visitors report icy drafts sweeping through tunnels without any natural source, sometimes brushing against their skin or enveloping them in sudden chills. These cold spots often appear in conjunction with apparitions or strange sounds, heightening the sense of an unseen presence. Shadows flicker along walls, even in the faint light of flashlights, giving the impression of movement where none exists. Timber supports groan and shift in ways that mimic footsteps or tool impacts, adding to the sensory experience of being observed by forces beyond the natural world. Visual phenomena are also frequently reported. Phantom lanterns are seen floating along corridors, illuminating dark passageways with soft amber light. Dust and debris sometimes appear to move independently, as though disturbed by invisible hands. Visitors have recounted seeing glowing figures in the distance, only for them to vanish upon approach. These visual effects often coincide with auditory cues, creating moments when a mind feels fully alive with the spirits of those who worked and jet out there decades ago. Historical context plays a critical role in understanding these experiences. The Silver Queen Mine was known for its dangerous conditions, and many miners lost their lives in accidents, collapses, and explosions. Paranormal investigators suggest that these traumatic events may have left residual energy within the tunnels, replaying moments of labor, fear, and tragedy. Shadowy figures, phantom lanterns, and ghostly voices may be manifestations of Minersa's lingering presence, tied to the places where they labored and perished. Some visitors describe an undeniable sense of caution, as if the spirits are silently urging outsiders to respect the mine and its history. Psychological factors also contribute to the haunting. Psychological factors also contribute to the haunting. Psychological factors also contribute to the haunting. Isolation, darkness, and knowledge of past fatalities heighten awareness of subtle stimuli. Shadows seem animate, echoes become voices, and gusts of cold air feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the experiences persist after leaving the mine, with dreams or memories replaying apparitions, faint voices, and phantom lanterns. The blending of perception, environment, and history ensures that the Silver Queen mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter. Even during daylight hours, the memory of ghostly miners, drifting lanterns, and shifting shadows lingers. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, the Silver Queen mine is more than an abandoned mining city. It is a place where the spirits of those who perish continue to exist, silently guarding the tunnels and echoing the lives they once led. At the Silver Queen mine, shadowy miners carry tools through darkened corridors, phantom lanterns float along abandoned shafts, and ghostly voices echo in silence. At the Silver Queen mine, shadowy miners carry tools through darkened corridors, phantom lanterns float along abandoned shafts, and ghostly voices echo in silence. At the Silver Queen mine, shadowy miners carry tools through darkened corridors, phantom lanterns float along abandoned shafts, and ghostly voices echo in silence. Cold drafts sweep passages unexpectedly, shadows flicker against walls, and the mind seems alive with memory. Cold drafts sweep passages unexpectedly, shadows flicker against walls, and the mind seems alive with memory. Cold drafts sweep passages unexpectedly, shadows flicker against walls, and the mind seems alive with memory. Its treacherous tunnels, tragic history, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain buried, leaving visitors with a profound sense that those who work at and Jeddah within the Silver Queen mine are still present, watching and remembering. The Treadwell mine in Alaska, once one of the largest gold mines in the world, stretches across the steep slopes near Juneau, its vast network of tunnels carved deep into the earth. In its heyday, the mine was a hub of activity, filled with the constant clamor of pickaxes, the rumble of carts, and the voices of miners driven by the promise of gold. Yet, beneath the surface of its rich history lies a chilling reputation. Visitors and explorers report encounters with phantom miners in collapsed tunnels, mysterious lights drifting along dark shafts, and unexplained tremors when no machinery is present, creating an unsettling atmosphere that suggests the mine has never truly been abandoned. The most common sightings involve apparitions of miners. Witnesses describe translucent figures dressed in early 20th century mining attire, carrying tools and moving with a purposeful rhythm. These shadowy figures are often seen near collapsed or flooded tunnels, sometimes pausing as if inspecting the passage, only to vanish when approached. One explorer recounted walking along a narrow corridor when a miner appeared at the end, swinging a pickaxe at unseen rock, before dissolving into the darkness. Other visitors have observed groups of figures moving silently through different levels of the mine, performing repetitive tasks as though trapped in the routines of life long past. These apparitions are often linked to historical accidents, giving the impression that those who perish continue to linger. Mysterious lights are another common phenomenon. These lights often appear without any natural source, casting an otherworldly glow on the wooden supports and rock walls. Sometimes multiple lights move in a sequence, tracing the paths of miners long gone. Witnesses often report that these lights appear in areas historically associated with accidents or cave-ins, as if the spirits are marking dangerous places or guiding observers along the Manea-esque winding corridors. Auditory phenomena further enhance the haunting. Explorers report the distant rumble of collapsed tunnels, the clanging of tools striking rock, and faint voices calling warnings or names. One visitor described hearing the soft creak of a cart moving across an abandoned track, even though no equipment exists in the area. Others recount hearing muffled cries for help or the echo of conversations in areas sealed off for decades. Witnesses often report that these lights appear in areas historically associated with accidents or cave-ins, as if the spirits are marking dangerous places or guiding observers along the Manea-esque winding corridors. Explorers report the distant rumble of collapsed tunnels, the clanging of tools striking rock, and faint voices calling warnings or names. These sounds often appear to respond to the presence of visitors, growing louder or more distinct when someone pauses in the corridor, creating the unnerving impression that the spirits are aware of intruders and wish to communicate or warn them to leave. Environmental factors contribute significantly to the eerie atmosphere. Cold drafts sweep through tunnels unexpectedly, brushing against visitors and creating sudden chills. Shadows flicker in flashlight beams, sometimes moving independently of their source. Timber supports groan and shift, mimicking the rhythm of footsteps or the swinging of tools. The Manea-S network of tunnels, some flooded and others collapsed, amplifies sounds and light, producing an immersive experience where ordinary environmental cues are interpreted as supernatural activity. Historical tragedy, darkness, and isolation heighten the sense that the mine remains inhabited by unseen presences. Paranormal investigators suggest that the trauma and energy of these events may have left residual imprints within the tunnels, replaying moments of fear, labor, and death. A replay of the dangers and hardships endured by those who toil for gold, as though the mine itself is aware of their presence and is urging them to respect the historia and the spirits within. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of Manea-S tragic past heightened sensitivity to subtle stimuli. Echoes become voices, and gusts of cold air feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the haunting lingers even after leaving, with dreams or memories replaying phantom miners, drifting lights, and unexplained tremors. The combination of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Treadwell mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter its tunnels. Even in daylight, the memory of phantom miners, drifting lights, and trembling tunnels lingers. The Manea-S collapsed shafts, decaying supports, and flooded corridors retain a tangible sense of past activity, making the abandoned site feel alive with history. For those who have experienced these phenomena, the Treadwell mine is more than an old excavation. It is a place where the spirits of miners who perish continue to linger, preserving the memory of their labor, danger, and tragedy. At the Treadwell mine, phantom miners appear in collapsed tunnels. Mysterious lights drift along dark shafts, and unexplained tremors shake the ground without cause. Cold drafts sweep through the corridors, shadows flicker unpredictably, and the air is thick with history and unseen presence. Its vast network of shafts, treacherous conditions, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with a profound sense that those who once labored Rita and Jedi within the Treadwell mine are still present, watching and remembering. Those who once labored Rita and Jedi within the Treadwell mine are still present, watching and remembering. The Standard Mine in Colorado, nestled deep in the rugged Rocky Mountains, was once a thriving source of gold and silver. Its labyrinth of tunnels stretched for miles, carved by the tireless labor of miners who sought fortune beneath the earth. Over time, however, the mine fell into disuse, abandoned as yields declined and safety concerns grew. Despite its quiet exterior, the mine has gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors and explorers frequently report ghostly miners reenacting past collapses, the eerie sound of knocking and hammering echoing through empty corridors, and phantom lantern lights floating through dark, abandoned shafts. The Standard Mine seems to retain the memory of the labor and tragedy that unfolded within its tunnels, making it one of Colorado's most haunted mining sites. The most commonly reported phenomena involve apparitions of miners. Visitors describe shadowy figures dressed in early 20th century mining attire, often carrying tools or lanterns, appearing to work even in areas where the tunnels have long collapsed. One explorer recounted seeing a miner crouched near a fallen support beam, hammering as if securing it, before suddenly vanishing as he approached. Others have observed groups of figures moving silently along tunnels, performing repetitive tasks as if trapped in a loop of their last moments. These ghostly miners often appear in locations historically associated with accidents or collapses, suggesting that the spirits are tied to the sites of their final labor. Phantom lanterns are another frequent occurrence. Visitors report small, glowing lights drifting along corridors, illuminating the darkened tunnels with a soft, amber glow. One paranormal investigator described following a light down a narrow shaft, only for it to disappear around a corner, leaving the tunnel in total darkness. At times, multiple lights are seen moving in sequence, tracing the paths miners once followed. These spectral lanterns often appear in areas where the Manea-S timber supports have rotted or where ceilings have caved in, creating a sense that the spirits are guiding or warning explorers about danger. Auditory phenomena intensify the Manea-S haunting atmosphere. Visitors often hear knocking, hammering, and the low rumble of rocks shifting. Even in areas inaccessible to humans, some report hearing muffled cries, voices calling warnings, or fragments of conversation echoing through the tunnels. One explorer noted hearing the rhythmic pounding of a pickaxe against rock, though the area had been sealed for decades. These sounds often seem reactive, becoming louder or more distinct when someone pauses or ventures deeper into the mine, giving the impression that the spirits are aware of the living intruders and wish to communicate or caution them. Environmental effects contribute to the eerie ambience. Cold drafts sweep through the tunnels unexpectedly, brushing against visitors and sending chills down their spines. Shadows flicker along walls, seemingly moving independently of light sources. Timber supports creak and shift, mimicking the rhythm of footsteps or hammer strikes. The Manea-S narrow, twisting corridors amplify sound and movement, creating an immersive experience in which ordinary environmental cues are interpreted as supernatural activity. Historical context plays a crucial role in understanding these hauntings. The Standard Mine was notorious for dangerous working conditions, including cave-ins, timber failures, and occasional explosions. Many miners lost their lives in these accidents, leaving behind traumatic imprints of fear, labor, and death. Paranormal investigators suggest that the apparitions, phantom lights, and strange sounds may be residual energy, replaying moments of the past. Visitors often report an intuitive sense of caution, as if the spirits themselves are aware of their presence and are warning them to respect the tunnels and the lives once lost within them. Psychological factors also enhance the haunting experience. Awareness of the Manea-S deadly history, combined with darkness and isolation, heightened sensitivity to subtle visual and auditory cues. Shadows may appear animate, echoes interpreted as voices, and sudden cold drafts felt as touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the haunting lingers even after leaving the mine, with dreams or memories replaying the ghostly miners, and floating lanterns, and hammering sounds. The combination of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Standard Mine leaves a lasting impression on those who enter. Even during daylight, the mine retains an aura of the past. The collapsed tunnels, weathered timber supports, and dark corridors evoke the memory of labor and loss. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, the Standard Mine is more than an abandoned excavation. It is a place where miners who perish continue to linger, silently reenacting their work, guiding with spectral lanterns, and echoing the sounds of their labor and tragedy. At the Standard Mine, ghostly miners reenact past collapses. Phantom lanterns drift through abandoned shafts, and knocking and hammering echo through empty corridors. Phantom lanterns drift through abandoned shafts, and knocking and hammering echo through empty corridors. Cold drafts sweep through passages. Shadows flicker unpredictably, and the mine seems alive with memory. Its labyrinthine tunnels, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with chilling sense. The miners who once toiled Leda and Jeddah within the Standard Mine are still present, watching and remembering. The Miners' Delight Mine in Wyoming, tucked deep in the Wind River Range, was once a thriving gold mine, attracting prospectors and laborers seeking fortune. Its labyrinthine tunnels carved into the mountainside were a testament to human ambition. But the Manea-S remote location and perilous shafts often proved deadly. Today, abandoned and silent, the Miners' Delight Mine is steeped in eerie legends. Visitors and explorers report encounters with shadowy figures, glowing eyes peering from the darkness, whispers calling from empty corridors, footsteps echoing in abandoned shafts, and sudden cold spots that seem to follow them through the tunnels. The atmosphere is thick with the lingering presence of those who once toiled within the mine, creating an experience that blends history with the supernatural. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves shadowy figures moving through the tunnels. Witnesses describe dark silhouettes appearing at the edges of their vision, often vanishing when approached. These figures are sometimes seen carrying tools or moving with deliberate gestures, as if continuing the work they performed in life. One explorer recounted walking through a narrow shaft when a shadow appeared ahead, crouched as if examining the rock wall. As he moved closer, the figure melted into darkness, leaving no trace behind. Other visitors describe multiple figures moving silently through different sections of the mine, performing repetitive motions that echo the laborious routines of miners long gone. These apparitions are often linked to areas of collapse or historical accidents, suggesting that the spirits remain tied to the moments and places where danger once claimed lives. Glowing eyes are another striking feature reported by those who venture into the mine. Explorers have recounted feeling a gaze upon them, as though the mine itself were alive with unseen observers. In many cases, these glowing eyes are accompanied by the sensation of being watched, adding an intense psychological layer to the already unsettling environment. Auditory phenomena are a hallmark of the haunting. Visitors frequently report whispers that seem to emanate from the rock itself, faint voices calling names or repeating fragmented warnings. Footsteps echo through empty shafts, sometimes following the movements of those exploring the mine. One adventurer described walking a narrow corridor when the sound of heavy boots echoed from behind, though no one was present. Others have reported the distant clanging of tools or the rumble of shifting rock. These auditory experiences often feel reactive, intensify when visitors pause or explore deeper into the tunnels, creating the impression that the spirits are aware of the living intruders and are trying to communicate or warn them to leave. Environmental effects amplify the sense of the supernatural. Sudden cold spots sweep through the tunnels without any natural source, brushing against explorers and sending shivers down their spines. Shadows flicker and stretch unnaturally in the beams of flashlights, giving the impression of movement where none exists. Wooden supports creak and groan, sometimes mimicking the rhythm of footsteps or hammering, blending the natural acoustics of the mine with perception of a ghostly presence. The combination of tight corridors, deep shafts, and historical collapse zones creates an immersive environment where ordinary sounds and sensations are interpreted as paranormal activity. Historical context is central to the haunting. The Miners' Delight Mine, active during the Gold Rush era, was notorious for dangerous working conditions. Cave-ins, falls, and flooding claimed the lives of many miners, leaving behind a legacy of fear and tragedy. Paranormal investigators suggest that these traumatic events may have imprinted residual energy within the tunnels, creating echoes of the past that manifest as apparitions, glowing eyes, whispers, and footsteps. Visitors often report a distinct sense of caution, as though the spirits themselves are aware of the living presence and are silently guiding, warning, or observing those who enter. Psychological factors also play a role in shaping these experiences. Knowledge of the mine's deadly history, combined with darkness, isolation, and the natural echoing acoustics of the tunnels. Heightened sensitivity to shadows. Whispers are interpreted as voices, and cold drafts feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the haunting lingers long after leaving, with dreams or memories replaying the shadowy figures, glowing eyes, and phantom footsteps they encountered. The blending of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Miners' Delight Mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter. Even in daylight, the memory of the shadows, whispers, and glowing eyes persists. The Minea as collapsed shafts, narrow tunnels, and weathered timber supports evoke a tangible sense of past activity. For those who have witnessed these phenomena, the Miners' Delight Mine is more than an abandoned excavation. It is a place where miners who perish continue to linger, their presence felt in shadows, voices, and fleeting lights. At the Miners' Delight Mine, shadowy figures move silently through tunnels, glowing eyes watch from the dark. Whispers call from empty shafts, and footsteps echo without origin. Cold drafts sweep unexpectedly through passages. Shadows flicker independently of light, and the air feels alive with memory. Shadows flicker independently of light, and the air feels alive with memory. its twisting corridors, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with the sense that those who laborita and jeda within the mind are still present, observing and remembering. The Mayflower Mine in Nevada, perched in the desolate hills of the Silver State, was once a bustling site of gold and silver extraction. Its tunnels stretched deep into the rock, carved painstakingly by generations of miners who risked their lives for the promise of fortune. Today, the mine sits abandoned, silent in appearance but rich in tales of ghostly activity. Visitors and explorers have reported ghostly miners appearing in collapsed tunnels, faint lantern lights drifting through darkness, and disembodied voices echoing throughout long-abandoned corridors. The Mayflower Mine has become a place where history, tragedy, and the paranormal intersect. Witnesses describe shadowy figures dressed in period mining attire, often carrying tools or lanterns. One explorer recalled entering a narrow tunnel when a miner appeared ahead, bent over a fallen support beam as if attempting repairs, before vanishing as he approached, leaving those who enter with experiences that defy explanation. Others have described groups of miners performing repetitive tasks, their motions frozen in time as if trapped in the final moments of their labor. These apparitions are often seen in areas historically associated with accidents or tunnel collapses, suggesting that the spirits are bound to the sites of their last work and perhaps replaying moments of stress and danger from their past lives. Faint lantern lights are another hallmark of the haunting. Visitors often report seeing small, glowing orbs moving along corridors or illuminating darkened shafts. Sometimes these lights drift slowly, casting eerie shadows across the rock walls, while other times they flicker or vanish completely when approached, adding to the unsettling sense that the spirits are marking dangerous areas or guiding visitors along the tunnels, enhancing the sense of an unseen presence that is aware of their movements. Sometimes these lights drift slowly, casting eerie shadows across the rock walls, while other times they flicker or vanish completely when approached. Paranormal investigators have noted that these lantern lights frequently appear in sections where the mine has suffered collapses or floods, adding to the unsettling sense that the spirits are marking dangerous areas or guiding visitors along the tunnels. Witnesses often describe a feeling of being watched as the lights move, enhancing the sense of an unseen presence that is aware of their movements. Auditory phenomena amplify the Manea's eerie reputation. Visitors report hearing muffled voices, whispers calling names, and echoes of Manursa conversations from corridors long sealed. Footsteps often follow explorers through empty shafts, seeming to match their pace or echo from multiple directions simultaneously. One hiker described hearing the rhythmic pounding of a pickaxe against stone in a section that had been abandoned for decades. These sounds often appear to be reactive, growing louder or more distinct when someone pauses or ventures further into the mine, giving the impression that the spirits are conscious of the living and wish to communicate or issue silent warnings. Environmental effects further heighten the sense of the supernatural. Shadows flicker along the walls and ceiling, sometimes moving independently of any light source. Timber supports creak and shift, mimicking the sound of footsteps or tools striking stone. The mine's twisting corridors and deep shafts naturally amplify sounds. But visitors often report that the echoes feel purposeful, synchronized with apparitions or moving lights, creating the impression that the mine itself is alive with residual energy. Historical context plays a crucial role in understanding these experiences. The Mayflower Mine was notorious for cave-ins, flooding, and other accidents, which claimed the lives of numerous miners. Paranormal investigators suggest that the trauma of these events may have left residual energy within the tunnels, causing ghostly apparitions, floating lanterns, and disembodied voices to manifest. Visitors often report a strong sense of caution or unease in certain sections of the mine, as if the spirits themselves are silently guiding or warning them to respect the site and its history. Psychological factors also contribute to the haunting. Darkness, isolation, and knowledge of Manea's tragic past heighten perception, making shadows appear alive, echoes sound like voices, and sudden cold drafts feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the experiences linger after leaving, with dreams or memories replaying apparitions, flickering lights, and phantom voices. With dreams or memories replaying apparitions, flickering lights, and phantom voices. The blending of historical trauma, environmental cues, and human perception ensures that the Mayflower Mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter. Ensures that the Mayflower Mine leaves a lasting impression on all who enter. Even during daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, drifting lanterns, and echoes of the past lingers. The Manea-esque collapsed tunnels, rotting timber supports, and narrow shafts convey a tangible sense of the labor and danger that defined its history. For those who have witnessed the haunting, the Mayflower Mine is more than a disused excavation. It is a place where miners who perish continue to linger, silently enacting their work, guiding with spectral lights, and echoing the sound of their lives and deaths. At the Mayflower Mine, ghostly miners appear in collapsed tunnels. Faint lantern lights drift along dark corridors, and disembodied voices echo through empty shafts. Cold drafts sweep unexpectedly. Shadows flicker independently of light. And the mine seems alive with memory, its twisting passages. Tragic history and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with a chilling sense that those who once labbed Rita and Jetta within the Mayflower Mine are still present, watching and remembering. The Comstock Mines in Nevada, famous for their rich silver deposits, stretch deep beneath the rugged landscape of the Sierra Nevada foothills. Once a bustling hub of activity, these mines attracted thousands of miners in the 19th century, all drawn by the promise of wealth and opportunity. Today, many sections lie abandoned, dark, and treacherous, yet the mines are far from silent. Visitors report paranormal activity throughout the tunnels, apparitions appearing unexpectedly, fan machinery operated without cause, and shadowy figures that vanish when approached. The Comstock Mines are a chilling reminder of a past steeped in ambition, labor, and tragedy, leaving echoes of human presence that persist long after the miners themselves have gone. Witnesses describe translucent figures of miners, often dressed in period clothing and carrying tools. Some seem to be performing repetitive tasks, like shoveling rock, adjusting supports, or examining walls, as if trapped in the routines of life long past. One visitor recounted pausing in a narrow passage when a miner appeared ahead, leaning over a cart as though checking its contents. When the visitor stepped closer, the figure dissolved into shadows, leaving only the echo of movement. Others have observed multiple figures moving silently in different directions, suggesting the tunnels remain occupied by the spirits of those who once labored and perished within the mines. Phantom machinery is another hallmark of the Comstock Mines haunting. Visitors report the unmistakable sounds of pickaxes striking rock, carts rumbling across old tracks, and distant drilling reverberating through abandoned sections. One paranormal investigator described hearing the rhythmic pounding of a drill in a corridor that had been sealed for decades. The noises often appear in areas with historical mining accidents or where machinery was once stationed, suggesting that the energy of past labor continues to echo in the present. Some explorers report that these sounds intensify when they pause, as if the mine is aware of their presence, creating an unsettling impression that the living are being observed by forces that cannot be seen. Shadowy figures are another chilling aspect of the Manea-esque reputation. Witnesses often glimpse dark shapes at the edges of their vision, moving quickly along tunnel walls or vanishing entirely when approached. Some describe figures standing motionless, watching silently before disappearing around corners or behind collapsed rock. One hiker reported seeing a figure with a lantern standing in a flooded shaft, only to vanish when he stepped forward. These shadows often appear in sections of mine associated with historical collapses, cave-ins, or other accidents, suggesting that the spirits remain connected to the moments and locations where danger once claimed lives. Environmental conditions enhance the sense of unease. Cold drafts sweep through tunnels with no apparent source, brushing against visitors and sending chills down their spines. Shadows stretch and flicker unnaturally in flashlight beams, giving the impression of movement independent of light. Timber supports creak and groan, sometimes sounding like footsteps or tools striking stone. The winding corridors and narrow shafts amplify these effects, creating a disorienting experience where ordinary sounds and visual cues are easily interpreted as supernatural. Many visitors report a heightened awareness of their surroundings, feeling as if unseen eyes are tracking their movements. Historical context explains much of the lingering energy within the mines. The Comstock mines were notorious for dangerous working conditions, including cave-ins, flooding, and the ever-present risk of gas explosions. Many miners lost their lives in these shafts, leaving behind trauma and tragedy that some believe remains imprinted within the rock walls. Paranormal investigators suggest that apparitions, phantom machinery sounds, and shadowy figures are manifestations of residual energy, replaying moments of labor, fear, and misfortune. Visitors often describe an intuitive sense of caution in certain areas, as though the spirits themselves are issuing silent warnings to respect the Manea's history and hazards. Psychological factors also contribute to the experience. The Comstock mines are notorious for dangerous working conditions, including cave-ins, flooding, and the ever-present risk of gas explosions. Many miners lost their lives in these shafts, leaving behind trauma and tragedy that some believe remains imprinted within the rock walls. Paranormal investigators suggest that apparitions, phantom machinery sounds, and shadowy figures are manifestations of residual energy, replaying moments of labor, fear, and misfortune. Visitors often describe an intuitive sense of caution in certain areas, as though the spirits themselves are issuing silent warnings to respect the Manea's history and hazards. Psychological factors also contribute to the experience. The Comstock mines were notorious for dangerous working conditions, including cave-ins, flooding, and the ever-present risk of gas explosions. Many miners lost their lives in these shafts, leaving behind trauma and tragedy that some believe remains imprinted within the rock walls. Knowledge of the Manea's dangerous past, combined with darkness, isolation, and echoing tunnels, heightened sensitivity to shadows, sounds, and temperature changes. Shadows may appear alive, distant noises become voices, and sudden cold drafts feel like touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the haunting persists after leaving the mine, with dreams or memories replaying the apparitions, machinery sounds, and shadowy figures they encountered. The blending of perception, history, and environment ensures that the Comstock mines leave a lasting impression on those who enter. Even in daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, phantom machinery, and shadowy figures lingers. The mine's collapsed shafts, rotting timber, and narrow, twisting tunnels evoke a tangible sense of past activity. For those who have witnessed the phenomena, the Comstock mines are more than abandoned silver Manisa. They are a place where miners who perish continue to linger, silently replaying their labor, guiding with phantom lights, and echoing the sounds of their lives and deaths. In the Comstock mines, apparitions appear in tunnels, phantom machinery operates without cause, and shadowy figures vanish when approached. Cold drafts sweep unpredictably, shadows flicker independently of light, and the mine seems alive with memory. Its labyrinthine corridors, historical accidents, and lingering spirits create a haunting environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with chilling sense that those who once labored Rita and Dieta within the Comstock mines are still present, watching and remembering. The Gold Hill Mine in California, tucked into the rugged foothills of the Sierra Nevada, was once a bustling hub for gold extraction. Its tunnels, carved deep into the rock by tireless miners, witnessed decades of ambition, toil, and at times tragedy. Today, the mine stands abandoned, silent in appearance, yet visitors claim it is far from empty. Ghostly miners, spectral lanterns, and phantom footsteps have been reported by explorers, suggesting that the mine retains the echoes of the Levisa and deaths of those who labored there. The Gold Hill Mine is a place where history, danger, and the supernatural converge. Witnesses describe shadowy figures dressed in period mining attire, often carrying tools or lanterns, performing repetitive tasks as if caught in the last moments of their labor. One explorer recounted pausing in a narrow shaft when a miner appeared ahead, bent over a collapsed support beam, seemingly trying to secure it. When the visitor moved closer, the figure vanished, leaving only the distant echo of movement. Other explorers have reported multiple apparitions, sometimes working silently in different corridors, giving the impression that the mine remains occupied by spirits unable or unwilling to leave. These apparitions often appear in areas historically associated with accidents, cave-ins, or other mining tragedies, suggesting that the energy of the past has left an imprint on the tunnels themselves. Spectral lanterns are another hallmark of the haunting. Visitors frequently report faint, glowing lights moving along the Menea-esque corridors, appearing and disappearing without warning. These lights often drift slowly, casting long, eerie shadows against the rock walls, illuminating passageways that have long been abandoned. Casting long, eerie shadows against the rock walls, illuminating passageways that have long been abandoned. Illuminating passageways that have long been abandoned. Paranormal investigators have noted that these lanterns frequently appear near collapsed shafts or sections where accidents occurred, as if the spirits are marking dangerous areas or replaying moments of their work. That these lanterns frequently appear near collapsed shafts or sections where accidents occurred, as if the spirits are marking dangerous areas or replaying moments of their work. As if the spirits are marking dangerous areas or replaying moments of their work. Or replaying moments of their work. Some explorers describe following a light only to have it vanish around a bend, leaving the tunnel in complete darkness, enhancing the sense of unease and impression that the mine itself is alive with unseen watchers. Following a light only to have it vanish around a bend, leaving the tunnel in complete darkness, enhancing the sense of unease and the impression that the mine itself is alive with unseen watchers. Leaving the tunnel in complete darkness, enhancing the sense of unease and the impression that the mine itself is alive with unseen watchers. Enhancing the sense of unease and the impression that the mine itself is alive with unseen watchers. And the impression that the mine itself is alive with unseen watchers. Is alive with unseen watchers. Auditory phenomena intensify the Menea-esque eerie reputation. The Menea-esque eerie reputation. Phantom footsteps echo through empty tunnels, often matching or following the pace of visitors, while distant clanging of tools or rumbling carts seems to emanate from walls or collapsed corridors. Whispers, unintelligible yet distinct, have been reported, sometimes calling names or repeating fragmented phrases. One visitor described walking a long shaft when the rhythmic pounding of a pickaxe echoed from above, even though no other person was present. These sounds often appear reactive, growing louder or more defined when someone pauses or ventures deeper into the mine, creating the impression that the spirit are aware of the living and wish to communicate or warn them. Environmental effects further contribute to the haunting. Shadows stretch and shift unnaturally in flashlight beams. Timber supports creak and groan, sometimes echoing like footsteps or tools striking stone. The mine's winding corridors amplify these sounds, blending natural acoustics with the perception of the supernatural, making even minor noises feel like the deliberate activity of unseen presences. Historical context is key to understanding the lingering energy within the Gold Hill mine. Mining accidents were common, with cave-ins, collapses, and fatal falls claiming the lives of many laborers. Paranormal researchers suggest that the trauma and fear experienced during these tragedies may have left residual energy within the tunnels, manifesting as ghostly miners, spectral lanterns, and phantom footsteps. Visitors often report a sense of caution or dread, as if the spirits themselves are guiding or warning them to respect the mine and its history. Psychological factors also shape the experience. Awareness of Menea's dangerous past, combined with darkness, isolation, and natural echoes, heightened sensitivity to shadows, sounds, and sudden temperature changes. Shadows can appear animate, distant noises interpreted as voices, and unexpected cold drafts perceived as touches from unseen hands. Many visitors report that the haunting persists even after leaving, with dreams or memories replaying the apparitions, glowing lanterns, and echoing footsteps. The combination of perception, historical trauma, and environment ensures that the Gold Hill mine leaves a lasting impression on anyone who ventures inside. Even during daylight, the memory of ghostly miners, spectral lanterns, and phantom footsteps lingers. The Menea-esque collapsed tunnels, weathered timber supports, and narrow shafts evoke the labor, danger, and tragedy that define its history. For those who have witnessed the haunting, the Gold Hill mine is more than an abandoned excavation. It is a place where miners who perish continue to linger, silently working, guiding with spectral lanterns and echoing the sounds of their lives and deaths. In the Gold Hill Mine, ghostly miners appear in tunnels. Spectral lanterns drift along dark corridors, and phantom footsteps echo without visible origin. Cold drafts sweep through passages. Shadows flicker independently of light, and the mine seems alive with residual energy. Its labyrinthine shafts, tragic history, and lingering spirits create an environment where the past refuses to remain silent, leaving visitors with a chilling sense that those who once laborita and Jedi within the Gold Hill Mine are still present, watching and remembering. Abandoned mines are monuments to ambition and tragedy. Yet for some, they became prisons where death did not bring peace. In these 25 haunted mines, the echoes of Minersa struggles linger. Lights flicker without source.